Winston De La Haye is a psychiatrist, a former military man. One of my colleagues, we've worked together for years, and he's just brilliant, one of the best, and we're very excited to have him join us. He comes at the very highest level of his training, and he's doing a tremendous amount of work. In fact, we had a discussion yesterday, and I said to him, I'm sure your business is thriving now because we're under so much stress. and he agreed, responded to that. So we're very excited to have him. We also have one of our leading attorneys in Dallas, Rachel Montes, who comes highly recommended, and she will share some very valuable information in terms of how we can be better prepared and to protect ourselves and all of that. Henry Lopez is also a SCORE mentor as myself. Henry has the business of the How of Business podcast that he has been doing for years. He's a serial entrepreneur, and it's an honor to have him here as well. He will share some things from his perspective in terms of business, and certainly from SCORE, what we're doing and what that's all about. Let's see here, just make sure. And Clint Reese, another colleague, who is a professional development trainer, years of experience. He's also a comedian, so he'll be sharing with us the importance of laughter and humor and in these very stressful times. So we're excited to have him too. And Nancy Alvarez heads up the SBA Small Businesses Primarily for Women focus, but in Plano, Texas. And she will be really addressing a very controversial topic, and which is all about the SBA funding and what's available, but she'll be providing us with some great information in terms of options that small businesses can tap into. And so that would be great. Michel D Butler is a publisher. We keep saying we're related, we're cousins, but we're still trying to find that link. But he is one of our leading book publishers. So he will share how you can utilize his time if the interest is there to write, and the publishing process and all of that. So these are who we have our first segment that we'll go into, and then we have a second segment. We're very mindful of time and what you all are doing, and so we'll try to make it as informative and useful as possible to all the viewers. Bernardo?
So who is Mr. Williams I see on as well?
There are other people. Omar Williams has joined us, not as a panelist, but certainly to listen in on what we'll be sharing today. And others will join us. And what we'll do with the live broadcast is we'll try to make it accessible to others. So yeah, so here we are, very excited today. Perhaps we can start with Bernardo. You're back.
I'm back. Yes? I'm back, Laura. Hey, how are you?
Here you are. So I've done a brief introduction. There's so much more on each of our panelists than, with the names you could just Google and you'll be quite impressed.
Well, we're going to start. So we're literally live now on Facebook. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And we've been live for a few minutes already on YouTube. So if you think what was going on, well, hey, we're here. I'm Bernardo Muy. I'm the founder of The Best You. And I've got Laura Butler, who is our Best You Legacy Club director in Dallas. And I've got a great lineup of very interesting, inspiring speakers that are going to be sharing all sorts of ideas and insights regarding, the interesting times we have at the moment, different points of view. And I'm going to be conducting this with Laura. So Laura, why don't you start doing, start doing the introductions one at a time, and then we'll go on to the next and just start asking the questions, and I'll be here to support you.
Okay. Let's do this again. We had done some earlier introductions, but I'll do it again. Maybe I'll perfect it this time. Dr. Winston De La Haye, who is a known psychiatrist and former military man, one of the best in the business. He's also a colleague. We've done a few programs together. He's excellent. It's wonderful to be able to have him here. I know his business is thriving in these stressful times. So for him to take the time to be here, we really appreciate it. We have one of our leading attorneys in Dallas, Rachel Montes, comes highly acclaimed, highly recognized and appreciated by so many. She'll be sharing some interesting points on how we can protect ourselves from a legal standpoint and things we need to know. And then we also have Henry Lopez, another SCORE mentor like myself. He also has the podcast, the How of Business. So he'll be helping, he deals a lot with small businesses and some of the challenges they experience. So he'll be sharing some of those things with us. We have Clint Reese, which is another colleague of mine. He is a professional development consultant. He's also a comedian, so he will share with us the importance of laughter and some very important points. So happy to have him. And we also have Nancy Alvarez from the SBA. She heads up the women's SBA portion of it, as well as a number of other things. She'll be dealing with a highly charged topic of small businesses and funding and what's available. But what's good about it is that she will be sharing some information that's very helpful in terms of options available to us and guide us in a direction that will help small businesses significantly. We also have Michel D Butler, my cousin, or so we say. He's a well-known book publisher. Right. He will talk about how we can utilize his time if the interest is to write a book. He'll take us through the publishing process and give us some very useful information. So we're very happy to have there are other panelists that will join. We have a first segment, which will go on until 11:30, and then we'll have the second segment, which will go 11:30 to 1 p.m. So I'm Laura Butler, Managing Director of Fusion Consulting, which is a corporate training and development company. And I also am the Best You Legacy Director for Dallas. I'm also a SCORE mentor. SCORE supports is the largest resource partner to the SBA and the Chambers of Commerce across the nation. So we're highly involved with the SBA and we have really great relationships. So with the panelists that we have an ongoing relationship. We're all connected. We're all in this together. And so we wanted to, find a way to share valuable information that could be implemented now, be useful and certainly relevant in these trying times.
Cool. Well, let's start. So who are you going to ask first, Laura?
Well, there are so many. Let us go with perhaps Henry Lopez. Who
I feel like I'm on Hollywood Squares, that old show.
Well, you certainly have the voice for it. So let's go right into it. Henry Lopez, as I mentioned, is a SCORE mentor, and he has the How of Business podcast. So Henry, tell us a little bit about what are some of the challenges small businesses face. We're constantly servicing clients, and we are in direct contact with small business operators. So what are some of the challenges you have seen small businesses to have, and what are the possible solutions and guidelines?
A big question. And I think as I was thinking about this question, Laura, the big thing that comes to mind in light of the situation that we're in now is it's about cash. It's about cash management. So what I see, and you see it as well, Laura, with SCORE, as we work with people who are often looking to start a business, is just that they're underfunded to begin with. And now a crisis like this catches them with no working capital. And that's why I think we're going to see so many small businesses potentially fail here. So that's my key takeaway, I think, as to the biggest challenge. I think businesses now, it's exacerbated, and that's just this lack of cash. And that's why we're looking for programs like the SBA programs to help us get through this crunch time. But that's what's going to catch people right now, is not having sufficient working capital to get through these challenging times.
And that now leads to Nancy Alvarez, who is with the SBA. Now, the issue is the funds have run out. So Nancy, what can people do now? What can small businesses do?
Sure, so of course. One of the things is we're anticipating, right, the sign off of the extension of the CARES Act, which is currently right now as we speak at President's desk. So until those funds become available, there are municipalities in the local DFW area providing assistance to small business. Just yesterday, the city of Dallas announced they have a program to assist small businesses. So I would encourage people to look at their local municipality for assistance while we get those funds back on board and running. The city of Fort Worth also has additional funding programs for small businesses. So these are sources that I would search for first. until we get again our funding in place and our portal opens up for our two main programs. Of course, you've heard the PPP, Payroll Protection Program, as well as the EID, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan.
Okay,
And Laura,
and
if I could add something, what small business owners need to do in the interim, and so I've seen various success. One of my businesses, I have a PPP loan, and I'm hearing all kinds of different things from my clients, different ranges, but we have to aggressively manage our expenses right now. We have to be ruthless about that right now. We have to defer everything that we possibly can so that we can survive this period of time. And so that's the other message we got to send to small business owners. They got to look at every possible opportunity to minimize spend and defer spend so we can survive this.
Absolutely. And Nancy, how long have you been with the SBA, and what are the differences you're seeing now with what's happening?
Sure, it's interesting because I have a total of 30 years in federal government. 23 of those have been with the SBA. So very familiar with how the government works. And I can tell you that in my 30 years of government work, I have never seen an act implemented as quickly as the CARES Act. Normally, it will take a federal agency to implement an act or provisions in an act. It would take them at least at a minimum a year and a half. It was unprecedented. The SBA implemented the PPP in a matter of 4 days.
Wow.
We've never heard anything like this. So certainly we did have some challenges. We're hoping that the second around, the extension now with the CARES Act or the new act that they're signing, that thing will run a lot smoother.
And the thing too is a lot of small businesses have had an opportunity to tap into what's available. It just may require some patience and some understanding, but that is phenomenal. 4 days to implement the logistics of that alone is significant. So that's a major accomplishment. And I think now for us to cope and be able to sustain ourselves is we have to look at the positives. Otherwise, it can be extremely depressing. And on that note, I'm going to invite Dr. Winston De La Haye to say a few things in terms of what is the psychological impact this virus has on us, and also what are some of those stress indicators and also some of the coping techniques. Yeah, Dr. De La Haye? Oh,
you got to unmute yourself.
Okay, just unmuted. Sorry. Hi, thanks, Laura. Hi, everyone. So in one word, one response to your question, the impact is severe, extreme of severity. So we're all faced with a challenge of being in a war, whether or not we signed up to do that, with an enemy that's invisible, that we're sure can create major damage, including death, and that we're not in control of. That's a major challenge. And so it's really twofold that this impacts us. It's those who are fine, who are now faced with a challenge day to day, and in addition, those who struggle with mental health issues and now have an additional component to deal with. It's really very important that we recognize that it's okay to feel afraid, to feel anxious in any form that that presents. And also to recognize that if we feel afraid, then we can imagine our children. And so in the same breath that we're taking care of ourselves, we need extra attention and care to our kids who happen to be at home and potentially exposed to the media, which brings me to how we limit our exposure. I'm aware of persons who are glued to the media for the whole day, and they're watching everything that's available to be watched. That's certainly not one way to protect yourself. And so we need to first differentiate the things we're in control of, those we're not. And we can control when we sit in front of the television set. We can control how many discussions we have throughout the day about the virus and its impact. And it's one of the recommendations as psychiatrists that we have for everyone, that you limit your exposure. So first and foremost, choose a reliable, credible source for information, like the CDC, like the WHO. I found CNN to be relatively okay. And so it's identifying that source and tuning in once in the morning and maybe once in the evening, and make that be sufficient we're all interested in what's happening. We all want to live, and we're interested in our neighbors and what's happening with them. But there is a diagnosis called post-traumatic stress disorder. You don't need to be experiencing it yourself. Even looking at trauma can precipitate that illness. And so we want persons to be aware. The more you're exposed, then the more likely you are to succumb. And then the importance of maintaining a healthy lifestyle, even if it is that we can't be out and at work. We still can exercise, and there are a number of jokes on WhatsApp groups going around with persons sprinkling water and the detergent on the floor, making that makeshift treadmill. That's okay. It's anything that works. And by definition, we recommend 30 minutes minimum, 3 times a day for that specific purpose of staying healthy. And then we can add to that appropriate grooming, of course, the things we eat. We're in control of those things. How good we sleep and ensure that we have adequate rest. Very important even for us, Laura, though we're participating in highlighting these issues, that we have our daily check-in with ourselves. How am I doing? And so I'm seeing patients every day. I need to be aware that I am impacted too, and probably more than the average person, listening to the histories. And so I need to be asking myself, and we recommend all persons do, how am I doing today? And just slow it down to see if you're doing a little too much today, so you can pull back somewhat, reach out to friends. This is a time to reach out. There is a social media. Again, persons are able to see their friends, not just hear them. Now is that time. Certainly we're unable to go over to visit, but you can visit electronically. Now is a good time. Family and friends, keep everyone in the loop, because we're all potentially at risk of becoming coronavirus positive.
Yes, and I think we may not be aware of how much it's impacting us. I certainly know once the situation sunk in, I knew I immediately had to formulate a plan within my home, because now we're operating from home. We have homeschooling going on, and we still have the responsibilities of taking care of our family. No, it's 3 meals a day, well-balanced meal, which wasn't quite the case before. So it's a constant juggling act. And I knew I had to create some kind of structure, discuss schedule, and, make sure we're on the same page so that we're not, crawling on top of each other. And, all of that. So it was important to immediately bring structure, and the children also need it. And as you said, Dr. Winston De La Haye, the children are affected as well. So we have to be very careful, and it's affecting us too. I certainly feel that it's affecting me in terms of not being able to sleep. My internal clock is just messed up completely. I'm just going. I find that I'm working longer hours. We certainly are. Because now you don't have the coffee break or the long lunch breaks, and you're multitasking. You really have to become a master at multitasking. Luckily for women, that's not unusual. But
there we go. There's the women card, Laura.
I have to pull on what I have. Come on, it's part of my coping.
Okay, well, let me just tell you, that's a myth. Laura.
Absolutely not. And I'll challenge you.
It's an absolute myth, and I can see all the men nodding their heads. Anyway, let me jump in here, Laura. Rachel, I wanted to ask you, because obviously, I know you're, as an attorney, and I think Laura has pointed some questions here, but I wanted to ask you, obviously, a lot of people are going to go bankrupt. They're basically either their businesses or as individuals, and it's a reality. And I was saying to Laura yesterday that, for example, in the UK or Europe, it's kind of it's worse seen than it is here. I'm not saying it's trendy, but I'm saying in the feeling we get that in America it's trendy and it's cool if you've gone bankrupt, if you because so many millionaires and billionaires have started all over again. So many millionaires and billionaires have had losses and closed businesses down, i.e. Bill Gates, so obviously the president. So, it's something that a lot of people are going to have to go through. What's the best advice? And obviously kind of like, give us obviously the bright side of that, because at the end of the day, there is something positive about it. And then also there is a good positive outcome that it does end over a period of time, and then back to business, hopefully.
Yes. And you're exactly right. And what I want to start with is a message of hope. We will get through this. We will get through this, and we'll get through it. We may change as a society, but we'll get through it, and we'll come out the other end of this. It's funny. I was researching what they were doing with jury trials back in the Spanish flu days, and I came across a picture where they were conducting a trial outside with social distancing, witnesses over here, judges over here, and they were business as usual outside, social distancing in the wake of the Spanish flu. So I want to start out with that message of hope. Now, bankruptcy is not a social stigma anymore at all. Like you said, many businesses and people have restructured, have restarted using bankruptcy. And frankly, that's what it is for. It's for restructuring, restarting. It's not the stigma that it used to be at all. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in the wake of COVID-19 and the loss of employment and the loss of jobs. Now, for business owners, and Henry, you touched a little bit about this. For business owners, check your policies of insurance, okay? There's business interruption coverage that may come into play that you may have as a business owner on your policy of insurance. Now, business interruption coverage is very important because it can come in and say your business is selling widgets and you can't sell those widgets anymore. It will come in to do an inventory and figure out exactly what you've lost and pay you for that. And business interruption coverage comes in several different iterations. I took some notes on this because I figured I'd be asked to talk about this. It can be vital to your survival as a business. It can compensate you for lost income and lost property. Now, there are going to be a lot of denials on these business insurance coverage policies. You're going to make your claim and your insurance company is going to deny it. You need to make sure that you've shored up all of your documents. You need to make sure that you're working with your CPA, with your whoever does your books, so that you are organized and you've got all of your financial documents and all of your evidence proving your losses. In the event you do need to go hire a lawyer to prosecute your denial of this claim under your policy. And I think we're going to see a ton of that. I'm already seeing it. I'm already having my clients call me and say, hey, I made this claim under my business interruption coverage. They denied it. Can you tell me why? And a lot of times it's a matter of looking at the policy, but a lot of times it's a matter of an insurance company denying a rightful, valid claim that they should not be denying. And so don't be afraid to restructure as a business. Don't be afraid to use the coverage you purchased, okay? Don't let your agents talk you out of that. Don't let your insurance companies talk you out of that. Use that coverage, make those claims. It's kind of interesting. And, we've seen all for Nancy, we've seen all the PPP loans lately, and we've seen the big, huge companies that gave them back. And why? Because, wait a minute, this is supposed to be for small businesses. And enough of the public, the court of public opinion, and at least two of those companies gave back millions and millions of dollars because it should be used for small businesses. We want our American small businesses to be healthy, to be profitable, and to contribute to the economy. And the way to do that is to reach out for help in those several forms: SBA, business interruption coverage, and if it comes to it, bankruptcy, so that you can restructure and restart.
Yeah.
Just one quick point, if I could, on the emotional side of it. While I don't disagree with either of you, I can tell you as a small business owner, and Dr. De La Haye talked about this. Nonetheless, the emotional strain and the feeling of failure that comes with that is not to be diminished. So there's that mental health component to it that as small business owners, we are feeling. You're right. The law allows us and that protection is there for us, but that doesn't diminish how badly we feel as small business owners that we've let down our stakeholders, our families, our employees. And so business owners have to deal with that as well. And I'm sure you're aware of that, Rachel, because I'm sure you're dealing that with your clients as well. Yes, that opportunity
100%.
is there, but the emotional side of it is severe.
Mhm.
Yeah, they call us an attorney and counselor.
That's right.
And a lot of times we got to use that counselor version of ourselves. And you're right. And what I tell my clients is, you know what, look around you. Look at how many people have reached out for help. How many unemployment claims have there been in the last week alone? It's in the millions. And so I tell people, you're not alone. This is not something that you're alone in. And it's important as a lawyer and a counselor to make people know that.
And also,
So-
if I can jump in there as well, and obviously, with kind of my brand and what we talk about, we've been doing panels pretty much nonstop every week, and we brought a lot of coaches, trainers, personal development gurus and experts with the whole idea of reframing kind of what we're going through. I think obviously the idea of this panel and obviously others that we've done similar in the past is about presenting the situation and obviously trying to reframe somehow, kind of, hey, look, what we're going through is obviously serious, but at the end of the day, there's always another side, and for me, for example, where I lost all my money at the age of 26 and 38, I look back now and I thought, was that dark? Was that tough? Was that difficult? Yeah. Did I come out stronger? Yeah. Do I look at it now in the completely different light? Absolutely. Am I stronger? Yes. So these are the things that obviously we have to obviously appreciate, understand what we're going through, understand the emotion that we're going through, but understand that it's not terminal. And this is kind of what we're saying. At the end of the day, we spend our lives trying to build wealth when ultimately all we want is health. And at the end of the day, the people that are really suffering are those that are in hospitals, those that literally can't take care of their sick people, of their sick families, those that don't have insurance. Those are people that are in a real situation. And at the end of the day, again, compare it with the war, 5 years of war, millions of people died. At the end of the day, this is really tough, but at least anyone that's watching this has a home, has internet, has a phone, does have facilities to be able to get, hopefully on the other side. So I think it's about staying, keeping the eye on the prize. It's really important at the moment right now is keeping the eye on the prize, making sure that we're looking at the solution, not looking at the problem. And, Winston was talking about obviously news. Staying away from news and the negative news is essential. Staying away from negative people is very important. Hey, this might be the time not only to close your business, maybe drop a few friends down on the way. That's the truth. So,
I agree with you 100%. And another point to that is when I talk to my clients now, I ask every single one of them to give me a silver lining. Yeah. I don't want to talk gloom and doom all the time. And they give me silver linings and they say things like, my family relationships have gotten so much better. I'm spending more time with my kids. I'm doing things I never thought I'd do. I picked up guitar playing. I'm learning Spanish. Those are the silver linings. We need to be asking people that as business owners.
And I was going to say, you guys obviously in Dallas, but I'm here in LA. People are saving thousands of hours in the car. Everyone will be stuck in traffic. You'll be stuck in the petrol station. Just that alone must be beautiful for all the people that are here in LA. Anyway, Laura, who are you asking next?
Before I go on, I just wanted to add to that. It's so important. This is such a serious reality check for all of us. But it's a great opportunity to tap into so many things that we have perhaps neglected for so long. I've pulled out my checklist and it's very motivational to be able to address things that I have neglected for so long. It's, and just spending real quality time. This is an opportunity for us to slow down. I think our pace was too great, too fast. I think it's an opportunity for us to stop polluting the environment, give it a break. Rest, recuperate, strategize, plan, refocus. There's a lot that's happening now, and it's important for us to utilize this time well so we don't have regrets at the end of it thinking, what did we do with our time? It can be a little overwhelming, which is why I suggested structure is so crucial. And yes, surrounding yourself with positive thoughts, and even yourself, because sometimes we can be our worst enemy. I mean, what goes through our mind sometimes can be seriously overwhelming. So we have to find ways to, get out of the PJs and, the sweatpants all day and get dressed and make an effort, because these are things we can do to keep ourselves focused and still feeling a sense of normalcy. I mean, it's so bad sometimes I get dressed to go to the park just to feel
it's normal.
some kind of.
And can I say very quickly, because obviously for those of you that may or may not know, Michael is a good friend of mine, Michael Butler, who is obviously a cousin from Laura, as you can see. They look so similar.
Yeah.
Michael, I've got to say, and I'm sorry I'm going to share this in public, but I remember the last Zoom that we did, you were in your pants and you stood up, and that wasn't a pretty picture.
Exactly. It was
I'm only joking.
One of those Zoom faux pas that, me and Anthony Weiner, we've both learned from our Zoom faux pas. So thanks, Bernardo, for outing me on that one. With my local comrades now, Laura's friend, she's bringing to the webinar, and you're outing me, and now I've got to work on repairing credibility. Thank you, Bernardo.
No, Michael Butler is a good friend. That's why I'm joking. And obviously, listen, it is about a laugh. And Clint will ask you in a minute about laughing. I'm always, a lot of these things, and I've got sometimes stickers says, "Oh, you're laughing too much." Listen, life is serious enough. Yeah. All of a sudden, a crude, real reality happens. You have terminal cancer, or you have a car accident. Those are real terminal things. As long as you're breathing, and as long as you've got a roof over your head and you've got internet, hey, listen, it could be worse. It could always be worse. And that's what I was actually speaking to Aaron Young, who you know well, and he was saying one of the things that he uses. He says, "Would you rather keep your job or be dead?" Well, you know what? Actually, I don't really care about my job anymore, and that's the bottom line. So reframing. But Michael, I'm sure, so Michael Butler has his company Beyond Publishing. He's helped hundreds and hundreds of speakers, use their expertise, their knowledge to publish books, and he travels all over the world. The airlines are losing a lot of money with Michael being grounded at the moment, because he's normally flying all over the place. Michael, this must be a great time, and I know we've spoken about it, and I'm sure you've shared this, but this is a time to get that book out of you. I know a lot of people will be procrastinating. This is the time to literally, no more excuses, get down, write it down.
Well, one of the last things I did before we were all quarantined was I was in Jamaica, home of Laura Butler, former Miss
and Dr. Winston De La Haye.
Hey, Dr. Winston. Yeah, beautiful. Oh my gosh. My regret was we only had like 3 or 4 hours on the island. I mean,
I've never been invited by Laura, so I don't know, Michael. But hopefully
shame on you. Honesty is important.
Well, she's the goodwill ambassador of Jamaica. I think she's sent a lot of tourists there. So I think we'll need to do a Best You conference down there for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, it was 10 years ago in a few months that my number 3 son was in Cook's Children's Hospital getting a bone marrow transplant after acute myeloid leukemia. He's now 10 years cancer-free, and my 2 oldest sons were perfect donor matches. And the thing that was going on at our home at that time was the 2 oldest brothers were fighting over who would get to donate. And I think this is that time. The printing press brought us out of the dark ages, and we've proven that when 8 billion people are on the internet, we're not going to break it. So now that not only I'm supposed to be in Pakistan right now, that trip got canceled, 166 nights on the road last year, but I love working with people that have stories. And in fact, we're doing a free webinar soon I'll tell everybody about, but it's Shakespeare wrote some of his best classics during the time of the bubonic plague. And some of the best ideas and some of the best inventions and industries have come out of times like this. So it's people like Laura Butler and it's people like Bernardo that really make me smile. And the fact that I'm new to Dallas, I'm meeting all of my new friends here, right? So you're all my new friends. We'll get together and have coffee and meet. So I'm so excited about what the future can be. And I'm excited to hear these stories. One of my regrets is my kids are all grown and on their own now. So at least they're nearby. But for those of you that I did a reshare on Instagram yesterday. It said, "Moms of toddlers, you doing okay?" And I thought, wow, I can't even imagine, you know, having kids in diapers right now. That would be really tough. But it really kind of puts it in perspective. And I just want to give a big shout out to Bernardo, you know, preparing for the biggest event in his life in LA and spending a couple months in Spain with his mother, you know, to be with her before she passed away. That's speaks a lot to me. You know, it really speaks a lot to me. And fortunately, I'm close to my parents. They're 56 years marriage, and they're just 3 hours up the road. So it's a blessing. One reason I moved back to Dallas was to be near to my grandson and my family and my parents. So, but you know, we've published 350 books in the last 2 years, and it's exciting to work with people that have a story. A lot of times the story that they think's their story is not really the story. Doctor, you'll appreciate this. You know, when you start writing your book, it becomes very therapeutic and cathartic. And a lot of times what we'll have, somebody's ready to move forward with their book, and then they disappear for 90 days. They just drop off the map, and they're not returning phone calls. They're not returning emails. And we're like, how's Jane? Has anybody heard from Jane? Should we send somebody over? And well, she's been going back to her therapist every week now, because she's writing her book, her memoirs, and it's bringing up all these old feelings, you know. And here's the thing with nonfiction books, and most of the people that we deal with are authors, speakers, experts, business owners. They end up wanting to write their memoirs, even though they want to create a book that's their credibility piece to make them stand out in their industry, right? But because they haven't moved past some of their emotional baggage, and we've all done this, right, where we get an opportunity, we've been there on stage, we feel safe, and then we just start breaking down and crying and sharing about something that happened that we thought we had dealt with, and it comes up. And the book it's that way a lot of times. But one thing we share with our authors is, you know what, if you want to do a best-selling nonfiction book, make it a how-to book. You know, you can still embed your story there, but memoirs are the slowest moving category of nonfiction. You want to write a bestseller, you know, give me 5 steps on how you overcame after that bankruptcy, after that failed marriage, after that divorce, after losing that child, after being wiped out by the coronavirus and starting over. I think right now what you start doing is what I did as a child, because I stuttered as a child. And before that, I was naturally outgoing and gregarious. But I learned that when I opened my mouth and started, yeah, at 5 years old, kids started making fun of me. And so it hurt. I went inside, I became an introvert. But one thing I learned on the farm in Oklahoma, we had a cattle farm, 30 acres. And I learned that my brother and I could be movie producers on our farm and shoot film and shoot video and cut to commercial and do all of our own commercials. And that's one of the things that helped me overcome the speech therapist, and shooting movies on the farm in Oklahoma in the 70s helped me overcome my speech problem. But you can begin becoming the A-list director in the story of your life. What we have now is a great reset. It's a massive reset, a massive time to pivot. And kudos to Bernardo on this, because he had 14,000 people RSVP for the party in LA, the 2-day party. If you've never been to a Best You, I tell you, I've been on the other side of the pond in London, and I've been in Long Beach. And I tell you, this one in LA and this one in Dallas, my word for these Best Yous are epic. So in October, it's going to be epic. I've already got authors from Mexico coming in. I've got authors from Europe coming in, because the reputation of these business events, imagine 2 days where you're networking. There's hundreds of people on stage like Laura Butler giving you their best stuff. And then you go from booth to booth and table to table, and you meet people and you connect. And my goodness, it's just an amazing one-stop shop for networking, business, connecting, and meeting people. Because, you know, Dallas is such a huge, that's one thing. I've been here for 2 years. I'm telling you, I'm new, because I've been gone more than I've been home. I remember one stretch last year, I was in 8 countries for 45 days, and I stopped to do a dental appointment in Frisco and pick up my dry cleaning and then fly out again. But I do travel light. And I will say this, traveling light when I travel is a metaphor for the way I like to do life, Doc. You'll appreciate this. I did hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars on the therapy couch. But, you know, I need to go in and get a checkup occasionally. I need to go in and say, wow, I thought I had processed this. I need to come back through. But traveling lights really helped. In doing those 45 nights in 8 countries, I only had 2 carry-ons, no checked baggage. And I remember a time when I left you'll appreciate this, Bernardo. Gatwick is a far piece out from central London. I decided to fly to Switzerland from Gatwick. I'm like, oh, this is a cheaper flight. I'll just fly out of Gatwick. Well, one thing you don't know if you're not from London, the Gatwick is a pretty good Uber drive. It's $100 Uber drive from central London to Gatwick, and you should have just flown out of Heathrow. But these are some fun things. But after leaving a bag in a large bag in Gatwick once, I said, I'm tired of checking bags and, getting on stage and speaking in my sneakers and my suit. I'm just going to do carry-ons and just wear my shoes and my jacket, and we'll be ready. So,
Michael, thank you so much. Listen, Michael's a legend, and he's always, you see him in all the events. He's running all over the place, and yeah, listen, for us, it was a bit of a challenge. We had, around 14,000 people. We had 150, 160 speakers confirmed, and I actually postponed the event 10 days before the event because I could see it coming.
Well, you also saw the Zoom trend, and you started plugging all your speakers into the Zoom, and I appreciated how you did that because you wanted to deliver on what you had promised, and you did it virtually, and you just keep paying.
Yeah, well, absolutely. For me, it was because I know it was very disappointing for a lot of people, for all the speakers, and also about everyone that was going to be there. So, we did what we could for the 2 days that, the event didn't actually happen. But I postponed the event. And I remember at the time I got a lot of stick from, as they call it in English, we got a lot of stick from a lot of people who didn't understand why we were postponing the event. And I said, look, we've got a responsibility here. We've got a lot of people walking in there, and I don't want to be responsible for, transmitting it. And the last thing I want is for people to travel from all over the world, and then all of a sudden 3 days before the event gets postponed and cancelled, which is exactly what happened when the governor, shut everything down. Mm-hmm. So, we made the right call at the time, and then kind of when it comes down to events, I just want to look, we do big events. We've done big events. And obviously for us has been the challenge. We've had to pivot quite quickly, move quite quickly, transition and do more things. And that's one of the advice that I'm giving a lot of people that I work with, coach with, and mentor with. This is a time where you can't literally hold back. You can't hold back. You can't wait. You can't be looking at the scenery. You can't be waiting to see what others do. You need to be proactive. You need to lead the way. I've always said that the world needs leaders. The world needs personal, professional growth leaders, because I really believe that, we really help and support, a community with education, with providing them all sorts of skills and tools in anything from yoga to nutrition, to love, to confidence, to whatever, that's the well-being industry, which is $3 trillion. So I really appreciate that. I think if anything, that it's we need even more coaches. We need even more mentors. This is a time when you need a coach. This is a time when you need a mentor. This is a time when you need to transition and take action quickly, to move and evolve quickly, and again, a lot of people understand reinvention as, hey, I've got to become a new me. And it isn't. It's about using your skills and adapting to the new reality. So, if you know that people like, a lot of restaurants, hey, if you can't go to a restaurant, all of a sudden these restaurants now do takeaways, so you've got to adapt to the times, and you've got to adapt quickly, and you can't feel sorry for yourself, and you've got to be looking at the new trends. And I'm telling you, me, just because I'm interested, and as a coach and a trainer, I want to give people the best advice. You need to learn what's happening, because the world is changing with 5G, with electric cars, with lithium batteries being cheaper and cheaper. The world as we know it now, and also now with what's happening with social distancing, everything happening online, people working remotely, this is a new reality. And for me, so I think that we will get back to the big events. We will get back to restaurants. We will get back, but it's going to take time. And I think a lot of people are probably struggling with that idea in their mind. I do get that some people think that they will never, ever be back in a public event, or they will never be back in a restaurant. But listen, we will. It's just a matter of time, and people will start feeling confident again, and we'll get back, to kind of what we were, because this is not here for forever. And I just want to. So,
and we'll be even more prepared, Bernardo, if we use this time well.
Absolutely. Well, we have to be. We have to be. This is a time to train and to learn. Clint, we haven't asked a question for Clint.
Yes,
have you got a question for it?
Yeah. Clint, how important is emotional intelligence now, and laughter, being a comedian and a professional development trainer? What do you have to say?
It's and thank you for being here. I almost made it 43 minutes without having to embarrass myself by talking. So It's been, this has been a very challenging time. I think it was Dr. De La Haye that talked about control what you can control. And that's exactly what emotional intelligence is being able to, that's one of the biggest skills of it, is being able to control your emotions. And, not to put it too over the top, but emotional intelligence from a business standpoint pulled us out of the last recession. It's why we have businesses that have more focus on employee engagement, more focus on company culture, more focus on taking care of the human beings that are doing the work and not just their output. It's about the people doing the work. And it takes an emotional intelligence from a company standpoint to be able to achieve that. So it helped us come out of that last recession, and whatever this looks like, it's going to be what pulls us out of that as well. It's going to be companies that care about their people. It's going to be people that care about other people. It's like Michael was talking about a moment ago, where his older sons were fighting over who gets to donate. I mean, there's the good and the bad right now is that if you go online, to be honest, the kind of bad for me is that if you go online, there's tons of free webinars. So small guys that are trying to charge money for it are like, hey, don't forget about me, please. But it's everybody's trying to give. And so emotional intelligence is very important. But for me as a comedian, it's kind of an interesting time. So talk about adjustment. My normal operation is to stand in front of a room full of people and tell jokes, train them on something, talk about something, feed off the energy of other people. And now I don't see people. I mean, I can kind of see your faces, but if you freeze or if Henry just yawned, I don't know if I'm doing a good job or not, right? So you kind of have to judge that for yourself. But the importance of laughter, I think, is something that is infinitely critical in times like these. I've done a few training sessions over, this new medium lately. And what I tell people is watch the stuff that's not dark and doesn't have a sad meaning right now. Thankfully, we had Tiger King, or, if you didn't like it, then unfortunately we had Tiger King happen to the world at the same time the coronavirus did. But being able to laugh is very important. We don't think about it, but during the Great Depression, people laughed. Like you don't think about that, right? We just imagine that during the Great Depression, everyone was walking around and just sad, and you think that humans were depressed. And yes, they were. It was insanely hard times, but I promise you, people laughed, people smiled, people hugged each other, people cared about each other. So when I think it was Michael that said something about checking on your parents of small children, we're not doing okay. Okay, it is a rough time. We talked about kids in diapers. We have a toddler that we're potty training right now. So I don't know why we needed to add insult to injury by doing that, but that's what we chose to do in this time. I think it was Dr. De La Haye, maybe it was Bernardo, that talked about finding that silver lining. They can be pretty dim and small and far away and hard to see. But if you can focus on the positive, if you can do as much as you can to surround yourself with positivity. So for me, that means locking myself in the pantry where the children can't find me. Whatever it is you can do to find that positivity, to channel that positive energy, that's going to get you through this. Because business, like we've talked about, it'll come and go. And if you focus on what you're doing and you just double down on your strengths, your abilities, then you'll be okay eventually. But your mental strength, your mental fortitude, that ability to laugh, to smile, to focus on those positive things is so, so, so important right now.
Clint, I wanted to, I've got this joke with this friend of mine that we're actually doing a podcast together that we just launched, actually. We started doing interviews. It's a good friend of mine. We always laugh when we do things together. and we are calling it From Isolation to Inspiration. And we're interviewing all sorts of people, and it's just literally about laughing. You know, we're kind of like laughing at a lot of the stupidity going on around. And the maybe is, man, you're going to have so much material. I mean, you know, when eventually you get back out there, and everyone's going to be right in the state that you're actually, because there's so much material. I share this joke about Paul, and because I joke about him, and I've been saying this in every podcast and every time I get a webinar. I say that he puts his kids in the car, and I said that's wrong. You know, when he gets really tired of them, he sticks them in the car, and the worst thing is he puts them in the boot. And a lot of people don't get it. That it's a joke. Oh, that can't be possible. I'm only joking. But is that
I'm not joking.
idea?
That's a great idea.
But yeah, there's got to be a lot of. I mean, there are a lot of things that make you laugh of what people are doing in these circumstances, or these things you see on the internet, or what people wear as masks, or people putting plastic bags. I mean, there's just so much great material going out there.
Yeah, there was a news story the other day where they listed off different materials that you can make masks out of, and they meant to use the word bandana, but instead what they put was banana. And so all these people started making these masks out of bandanas. So people just had like a giant rotten banana on their face with duct tape holding it to their face. And it was hilarious. And you have to do that. And, you know, some people might say, well, how can you tell jokes in a time like this? Well, the real question is, how can you not tell jokes in a time like this? Like, the only thing that's gonna, like, you kind of, to a certain degree, you can't control if you're an essential employee and you have to go to work, or you have to interact with people, or you work in a hospital, you have to interact with this. There are things you can't control. You may end up getting the virus. You may lose someone from the virus. And that's the sad reality of it. But at the same time, you can still laugh. It's okay to smile and have fun and be okay in these times. We, in my house, we just started doing our little version of a Saturday Night Live sketch show. So we've started filming all these ridiculous things with the kids, and we had our parents get involved. And so my mom and dad are filming themselves on a boat, and they're reading a book and drinking wine. And then it cuts to us, and the kids are playing in the sprinklers, and my wife and I are sitting there drinking a beer while the water is just hitting us in the face. And so we're having a good time with it. And you kind of have to. You shouldn't feel guilty about having a good time when the world is crazy around you. It's a moment.
And I've got to say, and I'll let you jump in now, Laura. I mean, I've got to say, it is proven that, you know, in order to have a stronger immune system, being positive helps. Laughing helps. You know, it builds your immune system. You know, negative thoughts. You know, it does affect it, and it affects unfortunately negatively so it is essential to laugh. And then again, you know, I've got a couple of friends of mine, and this is serious, is that I've got a really good friend of mine, you know, who I actually, you know, we always have these sick jokes. We're sending messages to each other. So I rang him a couple of weeks ago, and I said, how you doing, mate? I said, listen, because he's a little bit older than me. He's around 57, 58. I said, I hope you're all right, because at this age, you know, it could be pretty terminal. And then when I you know, kind of, it was a joke, but it's a sick joke that I normally would do with my friend. But then when I hung up, I said, this is not funny, because he actually could be ill. And then all of a sudden I was panicking, because he never rang me back, and he was ill. He was really ill, and he went through the whole coronavirus, the COVID and everything else. And I spoke to him just recently. Anyway, he got on the other side, luckily, and you know, and we were both laughing at it. He says, "You bloody bastard!" He said, "I listened to you. I was nearly dying." I said, "But I couldn't call you because I couldn't really speak." And anyway, he said to me, "I've lost 2 stone." And I said, "Well, thank God, because you needed to lose weight, man. You were really fat." So, you know, kind of, again, look, is it dark sense of humor? Yes, but that's my personality. I have to laugh at these things, you know. I can't be focusing on the bad. Anyway.
Yes, laughter is truly important. And, you know, our reality is so frightening at times. I'm from the beautiful country of Jamaica, right? I'm from the tropics. This is like, you know, torture to be indoors. I have to visualize my mind in, you know, a good place, the beach, listening to the ocean and everything. And what's even more difficult, not just for me, but so many, is not being able to hold your family and be with your family. I think that's the hardest thing for me, which is very difficult. with doing the juggling act of work and wife and mother and all of this. But thank God for our many blessings, technology. I'm able to see my family and my friends. I'm able to talk to them as often as I can, which, you know, and we're laughing together. We're trying to make the best of the situation because it's really hard. And even one colleague who should have joined us, he wasn't able to, Clifton Johnson, because his brother made the third person to die in Waco, Texas. And, you know, it's closer than we know. There are some people who are not taking it as seriously. And we encourage, you know, social distancing and doing everything. We need to be responsible. That is the important thing. But keeping laughter in mind. But I can personally say that, you know, you know these things, but in reality, it's very difficult. And that's why Dr. De La Haye is getting so many calls, and we're doing everything we possibly can because it's really trying times, but we will overcome. And, you know, we never get more than we're never given more than we can manage, you know, and you have to think that way. Dr.
You
De
know,
La Haye, yeah?
Laura, if I may, and we've been discussing wonderful things as we should, coping tips, etc. But there are some, and we all have limits, thresholds, and there are some who will go beyond, despite your efforts at coping, will go beyond that limit. And we want to highlight that where, despite your efforts, you're feeling sad, you're having difficulty sleeping, you're wanting to be alone, not to be on the phone with anyone. We want to recognize the concept of depression. It's real. There are a number of persons who will succumb. And so we want to ensure that persons don't stay alone and continue to feel alone, but to reach out, especially now, a number of therapists, including friends of mine, who have been accustomed to face-to-face, are doing through channels like this, therapy online, a number of them around. And so we really want persons to be aware and reach out where you need to. If in spite of your coping, you think you're still feeling overwhelmed, you're probably tearful, for example, not sleeping as I pointed out, your appetite is haywire and so on. It's real. And we are going to have persons who will be depressed. It only needs to be 2 weeks of those symptoms I pointed out in a sustained way. And probably should reach out to someone in terms of a therapist.
Absolutely. And Rachel, I want to ask this, how important is it for estate planning now? I mean, it's something that we sometimes avoid because it's too emotional and everything, but it's not just important today, it has always been important, but in particularly today, how much more important is it?
It's not just important, Laura, it's vital. It's vital today that everybody think about estate planning. And, you know, all of you have been talking about feelings and feeling afraid and feeling anxious. And I think that's a pervasive feeling. Those are pervasive feelings right now. Planning out your estate will alleviate some of that fear and that anxiety, because what you're doing is you're taking the burden off of your family when you're no longer here, okay? And that's why it's so vitally important to do your estate planning no matter what. I think that anybody age 18 or over needs to do estate planning, needs to have a will, needs to have a plan. Because if not, you're leaving it up to your family who are grieving your loss, in addition to having to figure out what to do with your estate, your body, your children. And what you don't want to happen is to have all that stuff go to the state. Because when you don't have proper planning in place, and your family can't figure it out either, the burden falls on the state. And they don't always do what might be your wishes had you been alive. Those aren't always followed. So estate planning is vital. And I would urge everybody to make sure that your estate planning is up to date. And if you haven't done it, that you do it. There are so many different tools. I would say, please don't do it online. as lawyers, a lot of times we have to fix major problems. I'm not saying that the online services are bad. I'm just saying, go to a lawyer, talk to a lawyer. The lawyer's going to counsel you through what you need for your specific needs: small estate, medium estate, large estate. There's different tools you can put into place. Now, another aspect of this, Laura, is you need financial powers of attorney, and you need powers of attorney for people to act on your behalf if you are too ill to act on your own behalf. And you want to make sure that you're putting those in writing and that you're giving that power to people in whom you trust. Because especially for people right now who are in the hospital on ventilators, those decisions are being left up to family members. And if you have a plan in writing that your family can follow, it tells your family what your wishes are, what you want to have done, how you want things handled. And that's an important part of not only easing the burden on you, but also easing the burden on your family who's grieving at the same time that they're having to take care of everything. You know, if you're a small business, Henry, you can chime in here. If you're a small business, you need maybe a key man policy, which says, you know what, if your partner gets sick and has to be in the hospital on a ventilator for weeks on end, your key man policy is going to come in and pay you for that partner's contributions, you know, things like that, so that you're not having to completely halt things to take on two burdens. There's healthcare powers of attorney. You know, you want to have control over what happens to you when you cannot voice it yourself. And those are all things that a lawyer can counsel you through and do for you, personalized to your estate and your wishes. I mean, God forbid you've got children and you haven't made arrangements and you're not around anymore, and the state is deciding where those children go. You don't want that. And when we do estate planning as lawyers, we make our clients do several layers of people. Okay. I may have them go 5 or 6 deep. And when they start telling me, I don't know anybody else that could take care of my kids, I start talking to them about, what about your kid's best friend's parents? Have you approached them? Can you approach? It's not like it's ever going to get there likely, but you need to provide for that contingency. Otherwise, things are going to happen that you would have never, ever, ever condoned when you were alive, if you're not around anymore.
Absolutely. And this is a good thing to put on that checklist and get started. Put pen to paper and just start with a draft and be actively, you know, be active about it. Get it done. Henry, perhaps you can share with us some of the initiatives. SCORE, as I mentioned, is over 50 years old, started by, you know, retired executives at their highest level to provide free and confidential business counseling for small businesses and entrepreneurs. And we are the largest resource partners to the SBA and the Chambers of Commerce. Now, Henry, we have been doing a number of things in terms of webinars, and can you share a little bit more on the initiative, certainly from a small business standpoint, and how small businesses can tap into those resources available?
Sure, and I think it speaks to what we've been just now talking about the need to reach out. It's what I have found as a small business owner, as an entrepreneur, is it can be, under normal circumstances, a very isolating thing. It's not often something we can talk about necessarily with our family or other circle of friends, because they're not business owners. They don't quite understand. So everybody has been touching on that, how important it is to reach out for help, especially in these times. You know, even at our level, I have mentors and coaches, but I think more than ever now, one of the services that we're providing, because SCORE mentoring services are free. We used to do them face-to-face primarily, but now we're doing them all virtually, and we're still open for business. SCORE is all around the country. And sometimes I'll tell you, it's just about airing it out, speaking it through someone else who maybe has been there, or even if they haven't, as business owners, sometimes our egos hold us back from reaching out for help to talk through it. And I have found that for my mental health, even just speaking through it and commiserating and hearing how, again, as we've pointed out, we're not alone in this, that has tremendous value in and of itself. But yes, SCORE offers free. That's the thing that I think people don't realize, that our mentoring services are free. So anybody can schedule by just going to score.org a free mentoring consultation. The way I do them, as most of us do, I think there's about 60 of us in our Dallas chapter, Laura, is what we'll schedule a 1-hour call now. And then you can schedule follow-up calls, and those are free as well. The other resource then that is a nominal charge is our workshops. And we've taken we used to have a combination of mostly in-person workshops. All of those are now online now. So we're doing those in webinar fashion. And we have the whole gamut, the whole range of topics, from helping you get started with your business plan to helping you manage your cash flow, as I had highlighted as a big issue right now. And all of these chapters around the country that are part of SCORE are offering these services now online. Fortunately, with our connections with people like Nancy and other SBA resources, we got a lot of that information. We're not experts, but we can help people kind of navigate these waters now of the PPP loan and the EIDL and how do I qualify. So a lot of people are reaching out for that. And I think those are part of the key resources we're offering with SCORE.
Absolutely. And certainly from a small business operator myself, I mean, I'm grounded. I've never been grounded in my entire life. Traveling is attached to my income. So I have to become even more creative in terms of finding new ways to expand and grow my business and put everything online now. All our professional development programs are now going to be converted to online. I'm using the time to network with people, letting our clients know what's available. You really have to become creative in terms of, looking at ongoing development, how you can ensure that you're offering your clients the highest level of service and training. And so Clint can appreciate this because it's a challenge for us because training has always been, it's certainly saturated, but even more now when everyone's online, and then we're competing with free programs and initiatives and all of that. And you really have to become creative. And as I said, certainly for consultants, all of us, Bernardo, Michael, Clint, all, pretty much all of us, especially those who travel a lot with work, we have to find new ways to survive, because that's really what it's all about, right? But this is a great opportunity for us to refocus, re-energize, really think about what is important, because as was mentioned before, with all the money you have in the world, if your health is not up to scratch, you can forget it. So we really have to be putting things in prioritizing really. And as I said to people, companies have a mission statement that they use as their roadmap. Why don't we have a personally created mission statement that can help us to navigate and that focuses and is in alignment with our goals and objectives and ultimately what we want out of this life, because tomorrow is not a guarantee, and that is just slapping us in our face daily. So we really have to challenge ourselves professionally, to develop and help each other. We're our brother's keeper. We really have to find ways, and that's one of the beautiful things I'm seeing now. We're collaborating, we're coming together. It's not just individually anymore. No matter your profession, background, circumstances, we're all in this very same thing at the same time together. And we need to challenge ourselves to really be creative. Yes, Bernardo?
No, I just wanted to add to that about kind of where you were going with it, which is about obviously, how does one, who obviously provided services either, in a live environment or coaching or mentoring, where you could charge and you wouldn't feel embarrassed, because now if you charge, hey, well, what are you doing? So I've been talking with my team, and I want to ask you, Clint, obviously, kind of how do you see, this new reality for you? But I was saying to my team that, look, I think what we went, because obviously we're a personal development company, and people that I represent or work with, they're all professionals, they're here, and everyone is contributing and helping in many different ways. But again, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of noise out there. As much as we were talking about the news and not spending too much time focusing on the news, don't spend too much time also on social media watching all sorts of things, because although a lot of people have the best intentions, there's a lot of, kind of things that might not be necessarily helpful. I was sharing the fact that I was speaking to Jeff Hoffman, from Priceline, the billionaire, and I only had like, I think 20 or 30 people on the webinar, and I was shocked because, this is a billionaire. When a billionaire speaks, people should listen. And so I'm just talking about focusing on the quality of what's out there instead of listening and watching anything. But it's also the same with services. I think we've gone from the fear to where I think we are now, which is the reality. Okay, I think reality is now, okay, look, this has happened and it's still going to be around for a short period of time. How am I going to come on top? How am I going to be able to create money, create revenue? How can I grow my brand? And that's kind of the thing that I think a lot of people are struggling and still maybe understandably holding on to their money. They don't want to invest in either coaching or in mentoring or, because, hey, maybe some people are helping, maybe they haven't got the money. Clint, how do you see yourself and kind of like, how can you offer your services and how do you see this transitioning as a professional that obviously needs to bring a living in?
Well, that is the hopefully, $1 million question. Right now, it's interesting because you talk about the noise, and Laura and I were talking about this the other day. It's not. When people book me for a training session, whether it's 2-3 days and I give them an estimate and there's a comma on there and, a certain amount of numbers, there's no balking at that. There's no, oh, okay, cool. See you then. Right. And now I transition that. And because of the circumstances, I'm doing a webinar series and I'm charging just the tiniest little fee. And it's just like, oh my gosh, seriously, why would you charge for something like that? And it's a strange thing because it's like, that's my business. That's what I do for a living. And you have a lot of companies that will have, they're offering a little bit of information and they're doing it in webinar because that's all that they know how to do right now. So now you have businesses on top of your independent consultants, trainers, speakers, that kind of stuff. You have all these companies that are adding a free webinar here, free webinar about this. How do you engage employees this way? So it's difficult. We talk about the positive and focusing on the positive, but the negative reality from a financial standpoint, especially for solopreneurs, is you just have to claw and scrap and be as creative as you possibly can. I have traditionally in the past been a bad millennial and haven't utilized technology the way I should. And I've been forced to. I've learned different programs that will allow me, if you've seen any of my videos on LinkedIn, I have my logo is up here. I have something scrolling along the bottom that's advertising things. I have my PowerPoint is over here. I've tried to do whatever I can to elevate that presence. Take advantage of all the different loans and assistance that are available to you. And just do what you can to make it through, because on the other side, there will be less competition if you make it through. And that is unfortunate, but it is the truth. Bernardo, I think you did.
Absolutely. And one of the things I was going to say, and I think you literally, you discussed a little bit, Laura, I seriously believe this is a time where you're going to find where partnerships and alliances are so key. So important. I mean, a lot of the things that we've done over the years, obviously with the Expo, is provide people with a platform that we can then, get people to connect with each other. And obviously what we're doing, and we're taking everything to the best you online, and we're reaching out saying, hey, if you've got content, come back to us, because we've got the tribe, we've got the community. So we're looking at ways of collaborating, but I think it's my advice for those professionals, because again, hey, Rachel should continue charging, and so should every other professional, an architect and AT&T. They're going to carry on charging us. Us who are in the personal professional growth industry, we need to charge too, because our advice is extremely valuable and helpful. But I do agree with you. I think, first of all, as I said, alliances, partnerships, try and work and collaborate with people. TV is obviously going to be phenomenal and very important. And also kind of understanding what to invest in or what to get involved in, I think also is part of trying to diversify a little bit, because I think if you just have one revenue stream coming in, that's going to be challenging for you, which is what's happened if you have one business. So diversifying in that is important. But alliances, partnerships, working together. Sorry, you were going to say something, Rachel?
Well, I was just going to say, along those lines, there are silver linings we've been talking about. In light of the recent downturn in the market and low interest rates, consider implementing something in your estate planning that leverages the low interest rates so that you can transfer wealth to future generations with little or no gift tax right now. Think about refinancing your home. Think about refinancing your commercial building if you own one. And, these are the silver linings in what we're going through right now. You can save a lot of money.
Absolutely. And knowledge is power, and at the end of the day, we still have to keep our minds engaged and our employees stimulated. And now is a good time, in fact, Clint, for companies to tap into what resources and training is available, utilizing this time now while they can. And there are so many resources available. Certainly the SBA score, all of us as consultants, universities and colleges now are offering even more. So tap into the resources that are available. Use this time to build your brand, position yourself well. So when things go back to some kind of normalcy, you're equipped, you're prepared, your mind is fresh. So these things are so crucial, and it's available. Knowledge is power. Just tap into, and I think that's what we're all really saying. Use what's available to us now. It's there. We're all online, so everything you can imagine you can find online. Google is a good resource. Tap into that and then speak with each other, because there's so much we can learn from just the discussion. So those things are very important as well.
If I may, so just listening to especially the last 5-10 minutes,
yes.
I think a good summary would be far more than the light at the end of the tunnel is the bright sunshine on the other side of this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, even the superintendent of Irving ISD, Magda Hernandez, she was supposed to join us, but she had an emergency to deal with and she apologizes. But she shared some things with me. And there's so much going on in the school educational system. There are efforts in place to ensure that students have, iPads that they can access their schooling online. There's a lot of tremendous work being done, certainly with the Irving ISD. And we're looking at even partnering with them, because we started this nonprofit program 17 years ago to help better prepare young people for the world of work. And she would like us to have a discussion to see how we can implement that program here in Irving ISD. So we're very excited about it, because we still have to keep our young minds engaged. They're the future. And we need to utilize our expertise and our knowledge to help with the ongoing development of our young people, which is partly why, I lecture at a couple of the universities. Every time I have an opportunity, I spend time with the kids. And as you heard Dr. De La Haye say, even the children are being challenged. I teach, we offer training in a wide range of areas. And so one of the things we do too is with our professional development, we have a social business and professional etiquette program. Well, I've tailored one for kids that I've done in the past, and I brought it back. And so I did one for 7 to 12, and then I'll have one from 13 to 16 and go on. I've spent a lot of time with university students, and it makes a difference knowing these things, because a lot of business interactions are done in a social setting, and the importance of personal branding and effective communication, and how you interact with people. And it was great. The little girls were, we'll do for boys as well, and but the girls in the program were so excited, and I gave them a project, which was they had to do a complete event planning, a dinner, and host their parents and send me back pictures of their 3-course or 4-course meal, whatever they came up with. And it was really good to include the children as well. I'm big on the, the young minds, and because they're the future, and we all know we're in trouble in regards to some things. So it's important for us to also challenge ourselves and make sure, and that we're teaching our children the right things, and you know, we are their biggest role model. So we also have to check ourselves and make sure that what we're communicating to them is what we ultimately want them to learn, because that's their future. We're helping to mold them.
I was going to say that we're their only role models at the moment. So, you know, we need to up our game.
Even more so, absolutely.
We were talking about, well, Winston was saying is obviously before at the beginning, we were talking about, you know, obviously the fact of, you know, kind of, hey, communication, you know, the impact it can have in the family and talking. And although we might be struggling, you know, and although, you know, it might be challenging for us, remember, you know, these kids are watching, they're learning, they're looking, they're seeing. And a lot of the time, you know, I always say to people, look, you know, you don't have to become an international speaker like Tony Robbins, you know, to inspire the world. You start inspiring your kids at home. And if your kids see you learning, reading, you know, reinventing, practicing, moving, you know, and going towards the objective of coming on the other side and you know, laughing as much as you can, it's going to help you definitely to kind of like, you know, help them, because this can have and will have a phenomenal ripple effect. I mean, what these kids are going through, I mean, God, Michael was talking before, thank God I'm not educating my kids. If I was their teacher, oh my God, they would forget everything they've learned in all those years in school, because, you know, kind of, I would just be a terrible teacher. I would lose my patience straight away. So I'm very lucky and blessed that I don't have that. And those of you parents, kudos to you who are educating them. And yeah, it is what it is.
It certainly is a challenge too, Bernardo, because the thing too is they need structure. Children really need structure. And now I think we have more appreciation for teachers. I cannot wait.
You're a bit bossy, aren't you, Laura? So I'm sure your kids are, you know, you're a bit bossy. So as a teacher, that's going to be tough.
But you know, I do try, which is important, which is why I mentioned earlier, structure is so important within the home, because there are times that my little girl will run up to me in the middle of the thing. And luckily I do sign language, so I can tell her to stop and wait, and she will understand. But sometimes I've been very firm in dismissing her. She runs up, oh, mama, and she has something to share, but I just can't deal with it then. But I make a note, and when I'm finished, I'll go and I'll have a conversation with her. Listen, I'm sorry for snapping a bit, but remember, we have to be, you know, managing things, and it can be a little overwhelming, and it really is. And certainly from my perspective, I mean, as a career woman and wife and mom, and it's not an easy task. I mean, 3 meals a day, come on now. I mean, and you want to keep them healthy. That in itself is a challenge too. So it's a constant juggling act, and but it's important to still keep our kids engaged and all of that.
Get them cooking. Get them cooking, Laura. Get them cooking.
Well, yes, I bake a lot with my little girl, and that's another thing that we can do. But, you know, before you know it, our days are out. You know, we're into 8 p.m., 9, 10 o'clock. I don't know about you all, but my hours are longer now, and I'm taking work to bed and everything. So I have to kind of discipline myself too. And because a little anxiety and, you know, with this whole thing going on, sleep is a bit of a challenge too. But, you know, meditation is important, and breathing and tapping into the natural things, because I'm not big on the medication part, but tapping into the natural part of it. And this is partly why we'll have a yoga master nutritionist that will join us in the second segment. And
eating well. I wanted to actually ask you, because I'm seeing a couple of Spanish surnames here. Henry Lopez. Lopez is not that's not a Norwegian surname, is it, Henry? Where are you
not that
from?
I know of, no. My parents are Cuban immigrants, and before that, Spanish immigrants.
Amazing, amazing. Pues yo soy español. Mis padres son españoles. Y Raquel Montes, that's also Norwegian, no, Rachel?
Well, my husband has his heritage in Mexico, and I have mine in Germany. We caught our little boy one time when he was little. He was talking to one of his little buddies, and I was eavesdropping, and he says, well, my mom's white and my dad's brown. The mouths of babes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly for us as Jamaicans, our motto is out of many one people. So you never really know what a Jamaican is going to look like. So,
until they speak, and then you know exactly where they're from. As soon as they say hello, good morning, that's it. You know exactly where they're from, Laura.
They're beautiful people. Beautiful people.
Beautiful people.
Thank you.
Beautiful people. And Nancy, Nancy Alvarez, is that also? Where's your surname from?
Yes, I was actually born in Puerto Rico, raised in New York.
Okay.
And I've been every place on the East Coast. So I consider myself, I was in the military, or my husband was in the military. So we travel everywhere. We were stationed everywhere on the East Coast. So
Yeah. And Bernardo, that's what's wonderful about Dallas. It's so diverse, you know, and this is one of the things I wanted to showcase. I have met so many people. I mean, New York probably is the other, state that reminds me of how diverse things are. I mean, people from Nepal, I mean, just every imaginable country on the planet, even those that you perhaps never heard of, you're likely to interact with them here in Dallas. And that's a great thing, the diversity and so people coming together, it's just really amazing here.
Laura, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start bringing some of the other guests in on the panel. So if you just want to carry on, if you've got any other questions for any of the guests that haven't intervened, and I will slowly let the new guests come in, okay?
Okay, sure. Thanks, Bernardo. Well, is there anything else that, Michael, you're back. Is there anything else that you'd all share? I mean, certainly, Michael, from your perspective, I certainly have been spending more time writing my other book, which is a challenge, juggling everything and getting your mind to be free enough to, to be able to focus. What are some of the pointers you can give us, those that are interested in writing?
Find a space every day that's the same place and the same time, even if it's a cubby hole, even if it's writing in your car. Maybe you jump in the car and you drive a few blocks to the lake or a park, and you sit there and you have a change of scenery, but every day from 5:30 to 6:30 a.m. you're going to write. That is the most powerful time. If you do that and just begin to write, you work out that exercise muscle of creativity. Even if you're just journaling or blogging about what's going on in your life right now, maybe it's not even a part of the book, but you get into the habit of writing. John Maxwell has written every single day for 40 years. Even when he's sick, even on his birthday and Christmas, he writes. That's what he does. So get into the habit. It'll become a part of your life, just like brushing your teeth or exercise.
Okay, great. And Henry, is there anything else anyone else would like to share before closing off the first segment?
Yeah, I'd like to summarize a lot of what we've already talked about. 3 things I'd like people to take away from a business owner's perspective. One is you got to get help, as we've talked about. And that's not just talking through things, whether it's a doctor or a therapist, but also, SCORE resource, an attorney. Get that help. Talk to people. It is very isolating. We tend to feel like it's just me. I think if we talk to people, we'll realize we're all going through similar emotions and experiences. And then all of those resources that are out there from the SBA, those programs, we have to, as business owners, get educated. That information is out there. It's our responsibility to go get it. We have to come out from under the covers and go get this and go get help. Number 2, as I mentioned, we have to be ruthless as business owners about managing our expenses now, deferring, eliminating, doing everything we can. If we have to get the help of an attorney, maybe with the landlord, we have to be ruthless about cutting back now, even at a personal level, so that we can get through this and come out at the other side and continue serving our clients and customers. And then thirdly, which is tied to number 1, communicate with your stakeholders, communicate with your customers, communicate with your employees, be as transparent as possible. I think that's therapeutic in and of itself, to communicate, share that. I think you'll be surprised, certainly as small business owners, maybe you won't be surprised how much positive feedback you'll get from your customers and your clients who want you to come back. We talked about, Bernardo talked about partnership opportunities. Be creative in partnering with other businesses that are also trying to get the word out that, hey, we're still here or we're coming back. So over communicate. So those are my 3 takeaways, and it's been a pleasure being part of this.
Great. Okay. Is there anyone else who wants to share, do a wrap up on what they had shared?
Yeah, Laura, let me say, first of all, thanks for having me. This is a great forum for small businesses to get the information they need. There's also misinformation out there. I want to direct people to our website, to what we're asking all our customers, as well as, continue connected with our resource partners for, Veterans Business Outreach Center, the Women's Business Outreach Center, Small Business Development. There's so much resources out there, but most importantly, stay connected. I'm going to direct you to our small business resource guide. You can download this little thing from our website, and it has our listing of participating SBA lenders, very important. I want to clarify also on the PPP, okay, anticipating that they are going to sign this extension sometime today. PPP, very important. We are having one of the biggest challenges small businesses are facing is that the bankers that are currently doing the PPP want small businesses to be long-time customers. That left a lot of the small businesses with nowhere to go. So we've created a listing of participating lenders that are accepting customers, new customers. So if you are out there or somebody asks you if you know of a PPP lender, immediately send them to either a website or ask them to email the local SBA office. We do have a listing. We currently have 32. So I'm grateful to those bankers out there that although they haven't been active participating SBA lenders, they called us, they inundated our phone lines and said, we want to help, how can we get involved? And certainly right now we're up to 32. So small businesses can actually have access to some of the funding that's coming out. Again, direct them to our website that has the most current information. It seems that the PPP and the EIDL, which is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, there's been some changes and there will be some changes coming out now, primarily to help more small businesses qualify for the assistance. So we're relaxing the eligibility criteria. So I encourage everybody, regardless of where you think you are, apply for these programs and allow the SBA to determine whether or not you're eligible for the assistance. I'm going to give you our local website where you can find all this information. It's www.sba.gov/TX for Texas/Dallas. One more time, www.sba.gov/TX for Texas/Dallas. And download again our resource guide. It has all the information you're going to need and most current information on the PPP and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan will be on our website. So thank you so much for allowing me to share that information with the audience.
Thank you, Nancy. And this is SBA right across the nation and in your respective countries as well. So tap into what's available there. And there's also dallas.score.org. That is a resource partner to the SBA that will be able to help in that regard. And as consultants, we're available to help in any which way. But I'd like to thank you all. The first segment, you have shared so much information that's valuable. Dr. Winston De La Haye, thank you also for helping us with the psychological aspect of it. Henry Lopez, my colleague as well, and all of you, Nancy, it was really helpful to understand the importance of implementing a will and looking at other ways of saving money and so on. And certainly for Clint, the importance of laughter. That is crucial. And I know Michael is offering scholarships to publish. So all of us, you can look us up, you can get our additional information and what it is we're offering, but it's really wonderful. It was wonderful to have you all here. I know you're super busy and, I appreciate the time because you're not only doing your work, but you have families and life and everything. So thank you so much for sharing with us. We really, really appreciate it. And I certainly look forward to an ongoing relationship with you all so we can collaborate and do more great things.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate all your insights and input to what you brought here today. And hey, we're looking forward to being there in Dallas and running this expo and inspiring people. So thank you so much for being here and great to meet you all.
Absolutely.
And feel free, please, to connect. Laura has my details. If there's anything that, personally or the best you can help you with or regarding content or anything in particular, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
I know a couple of you will remain because you're able to give the time and thing, which we appreciate. So still stay with us and everything. Take care, everyone else.
Thank you. So Laura, we can't really criticize the first bunch of panelists because we still got two of them here. I'm only joking. Only joking.
Okay, Clint and Michael can handle it. That's
Fire away. Give me what you got.
It's okay. It's okay.
I've been cooped up in the house. I'm ready for a good wrestling match.
I always do that. Whenever I have someone else to listen, I'm only sharing this. You are
right?
best. You're much better than the other lot that were here before.
And you've got a real British accent. Your British accent's much better than mine.
I know I'm thinking about changing my accent for the second session because everybody has such great accents, and then I just have a normal accent. Maybe I should just lean into to the Texan.
Go all Texan. Go get your 10-gallon hat.
I could do a little Matthew McConaughey. That might work.
Yeah, well, there you go. Whatever works to be effective.
Texas loves McConaughey.
So do you want to do the introductions, Laura, of our new guests? I still have one that I sorry, Laura, to interrupt you. Derrick Butts, I can't see him, so I'm not sure if he's actually joining us or not, but I can't see him.
Yeah, he should join us shortly.
Okay.
So thank you all. We're now in our second segment. The first segment was brilliant. I mean, lots of great information, but it will continue. We'll continue to provide this great information. So
Clint and Michael were amazing in the first segment.
Well, he's going to have to say that. But no, truly, they truly were. But awesome. It's certainly an honor to be here and to see you all. I see Sharon Feanny, a very good friend of mine and colleague. She's a yoga master, nutritionist. I think those who are listening will understand what it is we're trying to do. We're trying to cover so many different areas that we're all exposed to and affected by. We had Dr. Winston De La Haye, a psychiatrist, earlier sharing, the impact that this has on us and identifying stress indicators and giving us coping techniques. We had the SBA talking about what's available, and we encourage people to go to the sba.gov, and we certainly have Clint is a professional development consultant and a comedian, and laughter is so important. So we have Clint there. We have my wonderful colleague and dear friend Dagmar Metzler from the Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Irving Las Colinas Chamber of Commerce. I'm saying it correctly. And we work closely with the Chamber as well from a SCORE perspective. And so we're happy to have her. Dagmar is originally from Germany, which is a continuation of how diverse Dallas is. So, and Michel Butler, my cousin, I'm sure you can see the resemblance, but Michael is a book publisher, and he's sharing all that's happening and how we can utilize this time well to write if that's our desire. And then we have VR Small, a veteran who operates the largest women veteran business enterprise in Dallas and in Texas, in fact. And she's also a SCORE mentor. So she will talk a little bit more about, what's available to the veterans and everything. So the objective really is to cover so many different areas that people can feel, a connection. And so we're talking about business. We're really looking at the mind, body, and soul, and then some. And business and how we can sustain ourselves. So Sharon, I know we're all multitasking. We have to become masters at that. And Sharon has been doing her yoga sessions continuously, and she just completed one. And so she has joined us too to talk about the importance of nutrition and exercise, especially at a time like this. So welcome to you all. I know Derrick Butts will also join us later on. He's a big, he's in motivation and business consulting and so on. So it's great to have you all here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Laura, do you want me to take it from here?
Absolutely. Thank you, Sharon.
All right. So thank you so much for having me, Laura. You're such a rock star. Laura pulled me into the most diverse things, like, for instance, being a judge at Miss Jamaica Universe.
World, Sharon.
Miss Jamaica World, I'm glad she thinks I can judge beauty, inner and outer beauty. But anyway, Laura, you're a rock star. And to pull this together right now from such a diverse group of people really fills my heart, because honestly, this is a total mind, body, soul pandemic, all right? It's not just affecting our minds or our physical bodies, but it's affecting our consciousness, it's affecting our businesses, and there has to be a new way of looking at things. So I just wanted to introduce myself a little bit, and then I want to talk about my philosophy, which is live fit, live life, and live love, and how we can implement it into our businesses at this time where it's requiring us to pivot, right? So I just wanted you to know that as well as being a yoga and meditation teacher and a health coach, I am also, just like each and every one of you, a multi-passionate entrepreneur. So I have always used my love and my gifts in the wellness world to translate them into business. So you could call it a wellpreneur or something. But I am I'm a mother of 3, a wife to a wonderful man, Michel D Butler, who has, this is now my 3rd session this morning in our bedroom. I was like, can I just get a shower, please? I'm the mother to 3 kids. One, I just had to kick off his piano lesson because the 2 of us couldn't be online at the same time on Zoom. And I am also, what I said, a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I've created many different brands here in Jamaica. One of them was Starfish Oils, the first ever aromatherapy company out of the Caribbean. And then Shakti Mind Body Fitness, which was the first ever yoga and wellness center. And most recently, I'm the author of the Live Fit Kitchen Cookbook, which is on Amazon. It's a beautiful book if you're looking to up-level your nutrition during this time. It's super simple recipes that anybody can do. If I could have learned to cook, so can you. And I also have a line of pure Jamaican coconut oil that I sell to all the resorts and hotels on the islands, which are all now closed, right? So one revenue stream just completely kaput, just when it was just flying over the winter season. So here I am, just like you, having to find a way to pivot, right? So everybody knows Simon Sinek and his amazing teachings about, what is your why? Why do you do what you do, right? And I think this is a really great time to go back to why is it we do what we do, whatever it is that we're doing. And I see such amazing different, we have therapists here, we have comedians and veterans and business owners and book publishers and heads of small business associations and chambers of commerce. Why do we do what we do? What's a big why? And this one of the beautiful things talking about writing is that it has forced me to just get back to writing and writing more about why am I here and what am I doing? And remembering that. So what's the big why? And I remember when I came up with my why was that my why is to help every single person that I know, meet, encounter in any situation, whether it's a forum like this or going for a walk in the park, is to help each and every person live fit. And when I speak about living fit, I'm talking about spiritually fit, most importantly, physically fit, nutritionally fit. Why? Until we're physically, spiritually, and nutritionally fit, we are not really able to truly live life with passion and purpose. Am I right or am I wrong? Unless we have that extra energy and vitality to be able to live our purpose and passion, then we can't really do it to the best of our ability. We gotta have that vitality, that extra edge of energy. And we have to really understand why we're doing what we're doing. And my big belief is that when we are living fit truly, which enables us to truly live our passion and our purpose and live life, then we're actually in a state of living love, because body, mind, and soul are in harmony. And when body, mind, and soul are in harmony, we learn to love ourselves, right? And it is only when we truly learn to fall in love with ourselves exactly as we are, even if we are in a shit show like we are right now, in the biggest pandemic in history, or in our history, where businesses are falling apart, if we're still able to wake up on every single day and say, you know what, even though I am being the worst mother in the world, I have taken over my bedroom and my business is falling apart. Guess what? I love myself anyway. I love myself anyway. And when we get to that point where we truly love ourselves, then we can love each and every person. And so my whole journey to living fit and teaching others to live life and live love is for us to all get into that state of consciousness where all day, every day, as best as we can, remembering that we're simply spiritual beings having a human experience, and we will screw up often, probably every hour. As best as we can, we remember to live in love. And so, my friends, I've done a lot of soul searching over this time, and I just happened to be very privileged that I was just happened to be in a 10-week, very intense meditation course that really forced me to get back into writing. This started in January before we knew what was happening. So I had this kind of strong foundation and started to write, why am I here? Why am I here? And started to fill in the blanks. Each of you know the why, but what is changing is the how and the what, right? So my dream, I had just moved. I used to own a beautiful yoga center here in Kingston, the capital of Jamaica. And then my husband took a job in Montego Bay, and eventually I had to leave and move to Montego Bay with the kids after commuting for 3 years, eventually closed down my yoga studio. And now I'm living back in Kingston. And I moved back here in January, and everybody was asking, when are you going to open back Shakti again? When are you going to open back your yoga studio? And there was something deep inside me that said, not yet, not yet, not time, not yet, not now. And I'm so grateful that I did not invest in any brick and mortar right now, because look where we are. And what this pandemic has done is to force me to remember the why, but to pivot on the how and the what.
Mm-hmm. And that's very, very important, Sharon, to understand that, the how, because things have changed and will probably remain this way for the rest of our lifetime and beyond.
Absolutely. And
I just wanted to, I'm a massive fan of that book. Everyone that I coach or work with, or even my team, I gave them all a copy of the book, because I think it's really important and relevant one. And as Tony Robbins says, if you find your why, you will always find the how. So, if don't worry about how you're going to do it, just find your why, and then the rest will fall into place. So thank you for sharing all your great, beautiful energy. Are you Jamaican? This is
100%.
I'm only joking. I'm only joking with you. Don't ask a proud Jamaican if they're Jamaican. Oh my God. Yes, I know. I didn't know. It's just, you see, I've done NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. I can calibrate people. So, I'm really good at this. Thank you so much. So, Laura, do you want to introduce our other guests? We've got Dagmar here. We've got Derrick now. Derrick has been, Derrick, I don't know you. I hope you don't mind. I'm just a little bit forward. You've obviously been punished and they've sent you to the car, but we can talk about that in a minute. So Derrick, Dagmar, and VR. So go ahead, Laura.
Yes, thank you, Derrick, for joining us. And Derrick is a master motivator, and he has a couple of software programs that he has initiated, and it's going really well. So we're happy to have you all here. You would have known who is joining us in terms of panelists and so on. Dagmar, I want to bring you in at this point and just to ask, what are some of the new trends you're seeing in business in terms of in the industry from the Chamber of Commerce perspective? And also, if you could add, what is the purpose of the Chamber of Commerce? Wait, yeah, you have to unmute.
That's fine. Great. Hello, everyone. It is just such a pleasure to be here. I'm very, very, very thrilled about the work that is going on with Best You Legacy. And I'm pretty excited about some of the programs that are coming. So thank you very much for having me on. I want to do just a little bit of background because we were talking about why before I go to answer your questions. I'm German born. I am Kentucky raised. And then I continued my business, my life in Europe. And I worked for a large corporation, a Japanese corporation in Dusseldorf, Germany. And then I opened my own small business in the health and wellness arena. So I share this with you. That brings me to my why, and that brings me to what we're talking about as far as Chamber of Commerces are concerned. I have experience in the corporate world internationally, and I have experience in small business ownership in 2 countries. And I feel very, very blessed to have done that. After arriving then in Irving through my journey, I was introduced to the CEO of this particular Chamber of Commerce. And I was just blown away because I love people, I love culture, I love business, I love society, and I love diversity. And this is what I found. And you will find that in many Chamber of Commerces. I don't know if we may possibly also have folks from other countries here joining us, and their Chamber of Commerces may be a bit different. We're quite blessed here with our Chamber of Commerces. A Chamber of Commerce is a membership-driven organization. Now, in some countries, it may very well be a governmental entity, but here it is a membership-driven organization. And we have all kinds of members. In other countries, you may have specific industry associations. Here, everyone gets to play with one another. So again, a Chamber of Commerce is not a governmental entity here in the United States. And it's very vibrant and it's exciting what is happening here. For that reason, I chose to work for a Chamber of Commerce. It was my first gig with a 501c6 nonprofit organization, and it's absolutely amazing. So a Chamber of Commerce is the voice of the business community on many different levels, specifically supporting small businesses locally with the local government, supporting businesses with the state governments, being their voice, and also nationally. And in our case, from time to time, internationally as well, as we are very diverse, as I had mentioned. We allow business leaders to come together and work together. So it is not industry specific, because very often you have those companies that complement one another, that are looking for strategic partnerships. And that is what we do. We also have partnerships with the city and the business community. So that's very, very important. I'll give you an example of our situation. Irving, Texas has about 250,000 residents. On any given day, in normal situations, there could be 100,000 people driving in. You will have people who are CEOs of companies that are here. You will have folks who own companies that are based here, and you will have people driving in for work. All of those people cannot vote in this city, which means if something is going to happen through the local government that will affect a company, they cannot vote. We are their voice. We go to bat for them. We go to bat for our companies locally, statewide, and nationally. So that's very important as well. Our goal is to create an environment to help businesses and the community to grow. And I say that because in this particular situation that we're in now, we are being called on even more. So the reason I couldn't be here for the first session is because I was answering many different inquiries and making some connections and what have you. So that's very important. And we're also resources. We're huge resources for our members. We partner with SCORE, the SBA, and many other resources, city, state, locally, businesses, nonprofit organizations. You're looking for it, we probably can connect you to it. And that is all through our membership dollars that we do that. So we work for our members. very, very hard. And not only are we resources, but we are the extension of their marketing arm. Just wanted to speak with that. You have access to elected officials when you are our members, even if you're a non-member, of course, and you have influence. The connections, you can't get them anywhere else because everything is here, be it nonprofit, small business, Fortune 500, manufacturing, services, they all come to us in order for them to grow their business as well. And you have great access to our political leaders and our civic leaders.
Yeah, and Dagmar, I mean, the Chamber of Commerce is so important. Certainly, I'm from Jamaica, and when I came here as new, and one of the first things I did was to tap into the Chamber of Commerce because I had served on the SBA board in Jamaica and the Consumer Affairs Commission and a few other boards, but I knew I've worked closely with the Chamber of Commerce and I knew their role to be able to help me get connected and to learn more about. So it's a good place to start and the resources. And from there, I then became a SCORE mentor, and you know, which is the largest resource partnership to the SBA and the Chambers of Commerce across the nation. So we're very happy about that relationship, and certainly it gave me an opportunity to meet Dagmar, which is a master connector. She's great at that, and that's a big part about doing business, being able to network and all these things. So that part was really, really great. We have or
Laura,
yes,
Laura,
sorry.
I'm so sorry. I apologize if I had gone over on my time. There are some cool trends that are happening, and I'll just breeze through them. May I?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much. In the future, and these are just a few trends that are happening. 2020 and beyond, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce talks about these things as well. Peer groups are going to be way more valued than they are, not just industry, but peers that are also working for strategic connections. So all kinds of ways of bringing and forming peer groups are going to be amazing. Implementation of machine learning and AI. I know it's a big space, artificial intelligence, but just as an example, business processes, customer retention, AI is going to help with that more and more, and it will be a valuable resource. That's just an example. Professional organizers, believe it or not, there's going to be more demand for professional organizers. Contract executive assistants, that's going to grow and grow, and AI is going to work with that as well in really knowing what you're looking for, and oh, hey, here it is. So it's going to be great. And sustainability. I wanted to talk about sustainability very, very quickly. Another big word, however, commercial, corporate buildings and real estate are looking more into being sustainable. Not only that people are buying higher quality clothing that is pure, but also the business world is going big into sustainability. So plug for Earth 2020 and beyond. So the entire commercial business world is looking at that as well. And then one thing very important, there are others, and if you have time and you wish, we can talk about those. Support for veteran entrepreneurs, VR, that is going to grow and grow. There's so much leadership in our veterans, and you all know that, but this is going to grow, and it's going to start interacting even more with our different systems. So I just wanted to add a couple of those things. If you want to hear any more, let me know.
Absolutely. No, that's very important. And at this point, I'll bring in VR Small, that's a veteran. And as I had mentioned before, leads the Women Veteran Enterprise, the largest one in Texas. And she's also a SCORE mentor. So VR, can you tell me some of what resources available to veterans? And as I think I may have mentioned it before, Texas has the largest number of veteran women in business. Yes? Wait, unmute yourself, VR.
So first, Laura and the rest of the team, I want to thank you all for putting this together. Thank you for the invite. So far, what I've heard has been really inspiring. I was able to catch a part of the second half of the morning session, so that was really exciting. when we talk about veterans, I want to say that first, in all of my conversations so far during COVID-19, when I've spoken to the SBA and when I've spoken to our political leaders, the focus is on business, period. Right now, we're looking at how can we help the business community. And so there is not really a set aside for the veteran community. There hasn't been a real targeted set aside for the women's community. But what the institutions are doing are looking at the businesses from the perspective of size. And we know the difficulty we had with the big businesses that were connected to large banks, getting to the table and all of the money getting kind of sucked up before our businesses, who are much smaller and may not have had these financial relationships, were able to get to the table. So what I want to focus on in my conversation to the veteran community is very simple. You have to come out of the shadows and you have to get connected. And the word that I want to really focus on is thrive. A lot of us are talking about surviving COVID-19. But for our business community, I think we need to think about how are we going to thrive. You don't just want to come out of this situation surviving, because one gentleman said the competition is going to be stronger. There are some people who barely survive who are not going to be at the competitive table when we come out of COVID-19. But if you have positioned yourself to thrive, you will be in a better position to take on what is going to be necessary to really move forward as we come out of this situation, as we look at a new environment for business in general. So it is really just an acronym. And so if you don't mind, I want to kind of go through that. And what I want our veteran community to do is think. Our businesses need to take a moment, because this is a very stressful time. A lot of us are running around trying to do a lot of things. We're really kind of shaken, but I want you to take a moment and think. Think about where your business is. Think about where your business was going. More importantly, think about where you want your business to go. Because now is the time to start positioning yourself to be where you want to be. And so you have to start looking at that very critically. And I want you to set aside some time during today to clear your mind and seriously think and strategize. What am I going to do with my business? Where is my business going? Next, for my veteran community, I really want you to hold on to your military experience. This is not new to most of us. Isolation is not new. You've been isolated before. Being in a small environment with the same people every day for months on months and maybe even a year, not new. You've done this before. I want you to think back to how you handled those situations and understand that this is that situation. Use those skills, use that ability that you used in the military, and take charge of the situation and not let the situation take charge of you. You know how to hold on to your mental health. Use those strategies that we've already learned. You know how to deal with a situation that is constantly changing. Go back, rethink. How did I do this? Some of us didn't deploy, but we were always preparing for what would be next. So even if you didn't deploy, go back and think about how you handled your military experience. You were not completely in control. Someone else was kind of telling you what to do. We are not completely in control now. The federal government and our state administrators and our local administrators are guiding our situation. And now is the time to remember what it's like to follow instructions, to follow orders, to get in line and do what you need to do to be successful. Second, I want to definitely say to my military community who has a difficulty asking for help, reach out. Reach out to these resources. Reach out to SCORE. Reach out to your Veteran Business Outreach Center. They're there for you. Reach out to the Women's Business Center. Those groups have received additional funding and the first SBA distribution to bring on more staff to support you. So use these resources. They're using our tax dollars to do these things. Don't let them sit there and not be effectively utilized. So reach out to them. Reach out to the Small Business Development Centers. They're going to be able to help you prepare your finances and get ready to apply for these grants. Don't wait. Do it now. Reach out and ask for the help that you need. If you don't have a mentor, please get a mentor. If you don't use SCORE, find another resource. The Veteran Women's Enterprise Center is here for you. The Women's Business Center is here for you. One of the things I always say as a leader, we are not going to be able in our organization to serve everybody. We need to make you aware of all of the resources so that everybody that needs to get to the table can. So if you can't get to my table, get to another table, but get to a table. The other thing I want to say to you is definitely be innovative. Truly think outside the box. Stop looking at this is what we do. Start thinking about what should we be doing? What should you be doing? What is going to be the next need? It doesn't matter what you've done in the past, because you may seriously need to pivot to be online with what needs to be done in today's society. You want to come out of this charging. You want to come out of this with the knowledge and ability to really be able to assess the needs of the community and to help your clients. I would also say right now, you need to be reaching out to your clients. Make some calls. Everybody's home. Ask them, how are you doing? How did you like our services? Could we have done more? What could we have done differently? You've got time to do some serious customer assessment so that you can really understand where your customers are. And if you haven't asked those questions before, now is the time. The next thing I'm going to tell you to do is be virtual. If you weren't there before, you know you got to get there. And you need to diversify your business. So you should have some type of online presence. So if you didn't have it, now is the time to get it. There are a lot of programs out there that are offering opportunities for you to try the services for free all the way through July. We've created a COVID-19 resource center on our website. It's at veteranwomensec.org. As soon as you go to the website, at the top of the page, it clicks you to a link. And there's a link that says available tools and resources. It's in alphabetical order. And it lists all the different companies that we know of, but there are probably more, that are offering you tools to forecast, tools to assess your business, tools to look at how you can market better, choose to get online, choose to do virtual sessions. Pretty much everything you need to get on point during COVID-19, someone is offering an opportunity for you to get it and catch this for free. So find out where those resources are and get attached to them. And last is E. And E is simply, you need to be and find a way to be effective. I know it's difficult now. We have a lot going on. We're all running around in circles, but we have got to find a way to be efficient and to be effective. And so looking at your back-end systems is something you need to take some time to do. And none of us want to do that, because nobody wants to worry with the back end. We all want to do the fun stuff and engage our customers. But your back-end systems are going to be critical, that you have the tools and the resources that you need to really be effective. And people are going to be looking at that as we come out of COVID-19 and looking at those businesses that really have the ability to thrust forward. There's going to be opportunities for investment, and you want to position yourself for those opportunities. So I want you guys to thrive. Some of the larger veteran organizations that are out there beyond the Veteran Women's Enterprise Center, which is not a large organization, Laura, I wish we were. We're fairly new. We are a national initiative. Our brick and mortar is in Dallas. And of course, we can't use our brick and mortar right now. So we created a virtual community. We have our Monday morning session or our Monday morning message. And coming up this Monday, we will be speaking with Congressman Vesey and talking about the new resources that are coming out of Congress. And we'll be talking to Councilman Thomas and talking about what's happening here in Dallas. And they are doing some really innovative things and leading around making sure that resources are available for the small business community. And we have our Trending Thursdays tips, which is really just an opportunity for you as women veterans, and all are invited, even if you're not veterans, to tell us what's working, what's not working, and how can we get connected to some of those various resources that are around, not just Dallas, but around our nation. So last week we had Elizabeth Gore from Alice on, and this week we had Anticipated Joy, which is a telehealth mental health, a group that allows you to do your mental health counseling online. And next week, we're just going to do a wine and wine. So come online and tell us what's not working. It's your time to just share what's, get it off your mind. We're going to give you 2 to 3 minutes. Just go ahead. If you want to scream, knock yourself out. Tell us what's going on, because we need to connect with you and you need to be connected and you need an outlet to do that. And we want to give that to you.
Thank you so much.
So I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, I just wanted to thank you, VR, for sharing such great tips and some great advice. I love the whole idea around thriving. I'm, kind of a lot of the conversations that I've been having with a lot of people is around that, it is around obviously mindset and how you see this. And although it is, kind of a concerning time for many people, for many reasons, it is the time, I think, particularly. I mean, I've been sharing this idea that I'm feeling, and I think everyone will agree that this is a time of so much creativity. There's so many minds are coming together to develop all sorts of things, from obviously vaccines to respirators to obviously ways to protect ourselves. Also, how we can all of a sudden, teach kids from school, how doctors can. So I've been reading a lot around, obviously, kind of the new technologies, 5G. And I think that's kind of what it is, really. It's a time to really be curious about this new reality. And from what I believe, and I think we don't really appreciate how quickly change happens, and it's by something like this that can all of a sudden put us on a completely new journey, where all of a sudden, we're really embracing technology, using technology, and we're connecting, because this is a new reality. I mean, if you think about it, as you were talking about, commercial buildings, or you were talking about, Dagmar, commercial buildings and people that have buildings and rent offices, well, they're going to struggle. Businesses that had people working from an office are thinking, well, do I need to have them in the office? Working remotely, understanding new technology of how to educate. I mean, I was reading yesterday about some of the technology around, obviously, doctors, attending, their patients from home. Some of these companies have gone up 525% literally in the last 25, 30 days, on the stock. So it is a time to thrive, if that's the way you want to see it. As Henry Ford, if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. So I just wanted to carry on flowing here, because time's flying by, and I want it to be. So Derrick, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Very good. Listen, I was joking. Obviously, Are you traveling? I normally do this joke when I actually ask people. I say, "Are you at home, or are you at a restaurant?" And a lot of people just think, "No, I'm at home." But anyway, I'm just picking on them. But from what I gather, Derrick is a master motivator, communicator, and influencer. He's a founder of Assist You to Win, a global organization designed to connect people to their unique purpose in an atmosphere of mutual collaboration. Well, what do you think? Are people needing to find their purpose now, or what? Is it a wake-up call?
First off, thank you so much for this moment. And yes, I truly believe, what a time for us to slow down, for many to even stop. In the course of busyness, many times we pass the most important person by. And the name of this summit is truly what it's about, and that's the best you. When I've labeled this time the worldwide timeout. And being an athlete, I have thought about the times when we have called a timeout. A timeout is so valuable, so needed in our life. And there's so many great things that happen. What happens in the timeout doesn't mean the game has ended. It just means that it's a pause in order for me to hit play with a different strategy. I've listened to some valuable content just while I've been on here about pivot. I've defined pivot as being able to change my direction or strategy without changing the destination. We still have to get home. We still have to fulfill our dreams. We still have to fulfill our very intent and purpose. And so during this timeout, if we will allow it to be an interruption, we can move it to an intersection where we are intersecting with what is important and what was important. What we were doing that was busy and what we're now doing that is productive. Productivity is experienced when we commit priority to the right activity. We are now seeing that we're not just looking for our to-do list to be filled, we're looking for our success list to be filled. We are eliminating just as much as we are doing. We are evaluating so that we can be effective. We are contemplating so we can come up with new strategy. This is a valuable time for us as a nation, as well as an individual. Mediocrity only leaves when we allow ourselves to face it face to face. Good is being traded in for great right now, and great is being traded in for greater. And so I'm challenging people every single day to allow this interruption to be an intersection and ultimately leading us to the place of intervention. We all have something that we solve, but many times we focus too much on the product and not fall in love with the problem. Right now, we're seeing that if we'll get next to the problem, actually the product magnifies itself. No need for light if it's not dark. No need for hope if everyone's happy. So right now, it's for those of us that have adopted the mindset or the mind shift for abundance. We are now seeing that we have our greatest opportunity to stand up and show up in this season. So I'm just so grateful to be here with each of you. And I just wanted to encourage you and just to remind you that the best you is possible. If you'll stay visible, your business will stay possible. If you'll continue to look at your options, you'll find plenty of opportunity. Do not adopt the scarcity mindset during this season. Though the media will mass produce and let you know of how many may be in a predicament, everybody's not. You're valuable, your product is, and your value's actually increasing at this very moment. So don't forget to serve with a smile, but don't forget why you got started.
That's brilliant, Derrick. Derrick, loved it. Absolutely, well done, well said. And yes, I mean, kind of when I was coming up with the brand, I thought, well, shall I call it the Average You? And I thought, well, you know what, that's not really a good name. And the fact is that I really believe that everyone is obliged to become the best version of themselves, you know. And I said this before, but you know, it starts with inspiring our kids. You know, I don't know if my kids are inspired by me, but they definitely think I'm a lunatic because, you know, I keep pushing kind of what I feel is possible and I keep reinventing, you know. So kind of like now, I've gone through a lot in my life and I've transitioned quite a lot, but I've never had a pandemia. But I get excited in these situations because I kind of like, I'm really embracing and I think a lot of us are the same. You know, we have this instinct of creativity of how can we serve, how can we help? And that's what we need. You know, the world, if anything, needs more leaders now than ever. And it needs, you know, people need to come at the forefront. People need to step forward. But I have no doubt, you know, I believe that where we are now, and when we look back at this in a couple of years from now, it's going to provide us a phenomenal set of skills and resources, and put us in a position to really, you know, live a much more fulfilled life. I mean, there's so many great things that are happening because of what's happening. You know, no traffic. You know, the skies are bluer. You know, less planes are flying. Yeah. There's no cruisers, you know, polluting the oceans, and so on and so on and so on, and you know, and this can only be good, and it's building stronger relationships, and yeah, no, I'm a great believer in pretty much everything you said. So well done, and keep going. Absolutely.
Very true, and certainly the environment is grateful for it, and we all benefit. You know, so we've just lost focus on ultimately what is important, and this is just a great opportunity to realign ourselves and count our blessings. And
sorry, Laura, I was actually thinking about that. There must be some kind of article out there that could or will show at some point the positive impact that this has had on the carbon, the carbon emission.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you just think about 1 month, you know, what, 2-3 billion people, whatever it is, everyone stuck at home. I mean, yes. This is literally, you know, taking the clock back. We couldn't have done this. I mean, you know, we had targets that we could have not met, you know, so this is a way of nature, you know, forcing
itself, yes,
us to do, you know, things that we need to do because, hey, we've messed it up in many, many different kinds of ways. So if we only just look at that, and we look at how much less pollution and how much more the planet is better off. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I swear to God, I always would hear the birds sing, but I'm hearing them sing all over the time. They're really happy.
Yes, absolutely.
Same over there in Dallas.
They're very much, and I think, and I pray that moving forward, when we do go back to some form of normalcy, we'll keep this in mind: the protection of the environment and playing our role in protecting it. You know, that is so crucial. Certainly from a human resources standpoint, which is primarily my background before I went into specializing in corporate training and business consulting, there's a lot that has been changing. You know, companies are having employees operate remotely, offices are being reduced, they're maximizing their workspace. And now I believe it's going to be even more so, because I have been assessing, and I find that you're able to get more out of employees from some that are self-motivated and dedicated. There'll be an assessment in terms of that. And so this may continue to be our norm for many of us. And it's important to understand how to operate in that space. VR, it's not difficult because you're accustomed to, you know, from a military standpoint, small spaces, but the rest of us aren't. And psychologically, it is challenging. So we really have to make sure that we become multitaskers. We are able to be well structured, manage our time well, which is a big part of it, or time management. We have to really sit down and look at how we have been spending our time and how we need to spend it now. And that will really help us to appreciate life more and get more out of it, because as we all know, tomorrow is not a guarantee for anyone. And certainly one of the reasons why I was happy to include VR, a veteran, is because I grew up on a military base in Jamaica with my uncle being the head of the military intelligence unit, and a grandfather who fought in World War II and in the Royal Navy as a fighter jet pilot. And, you know, I have always supported, in any country that I'm in, I support veterans, because they, you know, they give so much for us, and I thank them certainly for their service. And, you know, it's how we're able to function as we are safely, and especially now with the military and the armed forces, to keep us safe in these trying times. I think it's important to recognize all those. And so, you know, just to say we appreciate it. And the whole thing is to, how can we look at things from multiple perspectives? We can't just look at it from one perspective. And we all have to look at, what do we have to offer? And this is what the Best You does, is bringing people together who are able, you know, they're knowledgeable, they're experienced, they have passion, they have heart. And that's one of the things, certainly the panelists that I've selected, they have big, huge hearts. They're passionate about what they do and about life. And so it certainly is an honor to spend this time with you all. And saying that, I would probably, you know, ask Clint, you know, as consultants and not being able to travel, or income has reduced significantly, and the pressure is on because we still have to survive. So as you heard Bernardo say, you have to get very creative and retrain, and, you know, make sure that you're able to continue to provide the highest level of service to your clients, whether it be in programs or anything that you offer.
I was just saying, sorry, Laura, I was just saying to Clint, but I actually just sent him a private message about, you know, kind of, because obviously he's a comedian, and I was saying, you know, have you thought about creating a course where you could teach people, you know, to have sense of humor or be funny? Because, you know, a lot of speakers, and my experience is in seeing hundreds of speakers and promoted hundreds of them, God knows they could do with some humor. You know, they take themselves too seriously. Some authors, I actually recommend them to read their own books. So, you know, kind of, but I'm just saying is that, you know, we all have expertise that is transferable to other people. And this is a time when we can use that, you know, and kind of, again, presentation skills. Now that, you know, teachers are teaching kids at school, or, you know, the parents are now as well, but we're obviously looking at educating from a distance, you know, teaching them how to communicate, teaching the doctors how to communicate. So there's all these variations of maybe expertise that we have that can be literally used, packaged in a different way for us to use it. But when you were talking about traveling, and I'm going to let you carry on, Laura, I was going to say, I think all of us would love to have a 6-hour delay at the airport now, wouldn't we? Give me a 6-hour delay, please. Give me a 6-hour delay, because I'm going to Jamaica. I would love that.
Anytime, any day, Jamaica is open, and with welcoming arms, will embrace you and give you the best experience ever.
No, what I'm saying is that we take the things for granted, but, you know,
we do.
Even sitting in the middle seat, I'll take the middle seat. Is it a 72-hour flight? It doesn't.
You'll take anything now. Yes, I agree. You'll take anything now. And it really helps us to look at what we were taking for granted.
Absolutely, and be grateful. That's one of the common denominators that we spoke very often is gratitude. Gratitude for what we have, writing what you're grateful for down every day, and appreciating what we have, because again, there's billions of people.
And really using this time to position ourselves well. Certainly you can spend this time to build your personal brand, your online presence, update your information, your profile photos, anything that will help you to really position yourself and give yourself that support. I mean, I certainly had to look at doing some administration. A lot of us could go and delete some of these phone messages and texts and emails and free up space and find ways to reduce our expenses. I mean, that's a big part of it. I've started to save a lot of money on just paying for additional space, by just deleting quite a bit of emails and things that, I couldn't have gotten to before. And, so much more that we neglect, that once we bring ourselves to a space of being truly organized and manage our time, there's so much more we can get out of our days.
And Laura, I was saying that before, this is a time to maybe delete some of those negative people in your contact list. Okay, so
absolutely,
delete that negative. My favorite hashtag is #no negativity. Dagmar, yes. I wanted to ask you, what is with what's going on, and you were obviously mentioning to me how many companies are obviously now investing in sustainability and obviously in new technologies. Where do you see kind of the trends going? Obviously, Zoom has gone up from 20 million users to 200 million users. So there's food for thought. So how do you see it transitioning from a business point of view?
Well, what's really important is helping as many as possible, of course. And people often have a fear when they hear AI or robotics and what have you. But so many companies are really looking at the big picture. And so when these changes are happening and these trends are going, they are incorporating their employees. We have a company here, for example, very, very old company. It's a manufacturer of extremely important solutions for folks that are having blood transfusions and things of that nature. They've been around for over 100 years. They have a great manufacturing company here. They have been thinking about robotics now and incorporating more and more robotics, but they have not lost one employee, because they began programs for their employees to learn how to run the robotics and to work in different areas. Also, for example, more 3D and drones are being utilized for super important business transactions, but as a service. So for example, Bernardo, you may have a small to medium-sized business that they're working on their taxes, they're working on, if they have a building, what have you. There are companies now that utilize 3D and drones to measure out their spaces for them when they're doing their taxes, so that they can they can save on so many levels. So there's a lot of optimization that is going on. And, the very large companies that may, be engaged in natural resources, if you will, they have for years now been working to deal with some working with sustainability, and they have money, and they are able to invest in their employees. They're able to invest in that pivoting that we were all talking about, right? That intersection instead of just an interruption, and they're going to make a difference. It's been very interesting as far as that is concerned, and some of those trends that are happening as well, how larger companies are helping those smaller companies now, and they're working all together. That's very, very important. And as you all know, we are all better together.
Absolutely. And, I'd like to bring in Sharon now to tell us about how important is it to have a balanced diet, nutrition and health, and especially with all this juggling going on and trying to maneuver. What are the importance of that? Your health. On mute. Wait, on. Yeah.
Yes, sorry about that. Yeah, you know, first of all, you guys are all so inspiring. It's so great to be with such positive people who are not, you know, I love what you said. We're not surviving this, we're thriving through it. And, you know, part of the live fit part is 3 things for me: being spiritually fit, meaning being able to come out of this, the mind, the thinking center, which is either trying its best to bring us into the future where there is fear, anxiety, worry, negativity, or draw us back to the past that we can't change, where there's blame and shame and what if and who did what and why, and, you know, blaming the government, blaming the Chinese, blaming, you know, the mind wants to take us either into the future or into the past. So this is such a beautiful time to learn how to come into the present, how to drop in out of the thinking center and into the heart, what we call the feeling center. And so I am so grateful for the gift of yoga, which is the definition of yoga is a union of the body, the mind, and the soul through the breath. So to being able to drop in. So if you guys have time and want at a certain time to, you know, begin to learn more about these techniques, I've just left a link there. So there's the living spiritually fit, because what COVID has shown us is that I think it's a spiritually fit, the people that are really able to come out of the fear mode, the businesses that are like, oh my God, and just they can't even think about where to pivot or how to pivot because they're so stuck in the fear and the blame and the worry, that they are going to be the ones that are going to be left behind. So the spiritual fitness aspect is so amazing. Physical fitness right now, being able to move our bodies every day. Tony Robbins, many of you there, you know, we share the same mentor. He says, what does the word emotion have in it? Motion. We have to be moving our bodies in order to change our emotion. So I like to use what Tony uses and what I teach in all of my programs is every single day, try to begin your day with what he calls and what I now call your hour of power. Something where you're getting up and you're physically moving your body, you're breathing, but you're also meditating and deeply relaxing. So try to curate this kind of morning routine that sets you up for success. Then we talk about nutritional fitness. We've been hearing so much lately. I mean, before all COVID, you know, there was a next great thing out there for 2020, which was intermittent fasting, or there was, you know, the paleo diet and the this and the this and that. I mean, I owned a gym for 14 years. I've watched every single diet come and go. What we have to look at is exactly what Mother Earth is asking us to do now, which is to look at how can we eat more of a plant-based diet. I am not talking about being vegan or vegetarian or pescatarian or paleo. I'm just talking, let us go to what Michael Pollan, that amazing researcher, has said. He wrote the book, oh my God, what is it called? The Omnivore's Dilemma. Beautiful book. He says, eat mostly plants. Just eat mostly plants. And so this is a fantastic time to start to dive into something that I've developed or something that I teach called the 80-10-10 rule, 80% of the time. So what does that mean? Look at your plate on a daily basis. Look at your diet on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. Can 80% of your diet, now that's high. That is like if you're, I mean, even if you were to go with 70%, 60% of your diet. But I'm pushing for us to like, let's use this time to like go into greatness, right? If we can look at our plates or what we're eating and say 80% of what's on my plate is plant-based, meaning foods from Mother Earth that didn't come out of a bag, a package, a box, or a can. 10% of my plate is protein, whether it's a beautiful piece of steak or chicken or fish, or if you're vegetarian or vegan, beans or nuts or seeds. The other 10% of your plate is complex carbohydrates. This diet about no carbs, this and no carbs. I have watched everything come and go. God gave us carbohydrates. He gave us protein, and he gave us plants and vegetables because we're supposed to eat all of the food groups. But be mindful when you eat that 80% of your plate is that beautiful plant-based sourced food. 10% is your protein, 10% is your complex carbohydrates, and always on the top somewhere is your healthy dose of fats. And I'm talking about avocados and nuts and seeds and beautiful high quality oils like olive oil and sesame oil and grapeseed oil and avocado oil. Now, I talk about the 80-10-10 rule 80% of the time because we have to live life, right? I mean, this 20% of your day, especially right now with COVID, we need a little glass of wine at the end of the day, right? Or that little piece of chocolate to just make us feel good. Am I right or am I right, right? I'm just saying, practice the plant-based diet 80% of your day, 80% of your week. Be okay with that 20% where you are feeding a part of you that needs a little bit more sweet right now, or a little bit more wine or something. But the majority of what you're eating comes from foods from the source. That's why in the Live Fit Kitchen cookbook, it's 100 plant-based recipes, but right at the very end is my 20%, which is all of my favorite, sweets like chocolate and my mom's carrot cake and my, this amazing flourless chocolate cake. So 80, just put that in your head and let's see if for 1 week you can say, all right, look at my plate, 80-10-10 rule 80% of the time. That way we remember that we're human and we want to enjoy a beautiful, fabulous meal right now that makes us feel good. One of the other things that I'd like to suggest at this time is when we got our first COVID case here in Jamaica, which I have lost track of time. I don't know about you, like I can't even remember how long it's been. Sometime in March anyway. And everybody ran to the supermarket and just started hoarding. I just moved into Kingston and into my new house. And in my old house, I had a little tiny front yard, little space, but I had 3 organic garden beds there. And since I moved to Kingston, I didn't. So I said, you know what? I'm not running to any supermarket store. I'm running to the farm store and I'm going to get my seedlings and I'm going to get my seeds. And do you know, it's been about 6 weeks and I'm reaping my first set of callaloo. Now, if you don't know what callaloo is, Laura, tell them what callaloo is, please.
Well, it's like spinach, and Sharon is right. I mean, what you eat really affects the way you feel. And certainly, Texas, the weather has a mind of its own. But on sunny days, get outside, get some vitamin D in. I struggled with that. I became vitamin D deficient being here and traveling with work to Europe. And, I was always cold and so covered. And so I wasn't getting enough sun. Sun is so crucial. And how we eat makes all the difference in the world in terms of how our body performs. So thank you, Sharon, for sharing that. It's so important. And, there are many jokes out there about after this COVID, what we're eating at home, we might not be able to pass through the door at the end of it. So we really have to be mindful of what we're eating.
Laura, can I just interject one?
Can I interject just quickly? I'm sorry, I'm just a bit cautious with the time, Sharon. I would really like Derrick just to say something and Vidar, and then because we have to finish sharp at 10:55. So Derrick, can I ask you, what do you believe are kind of the most important skills that one should have now, to kind of come on the other side thriving?
Yeah, so I think the most important skill today is, and I'm going to say it this way, is if you don't need it, don't learn it. It's the skill that you already possess right now. I think that's the place that people need to go to, is you go to your go-to. I always say that you build what you burn, you drop what you adopt. Right now is one of those times that you need to magnify what it is that you do well. You want to play in the place of your strength right now, because your strength actually has a place in the marketplace. So the things that you do, you need to find out, where can I do that more of? So I think about that from a doing, delegating, and deleting. This is not the season where you want to be doing the things that don't give you high return. Sharon spoke to us about the whole 80-10-10 principle. We know that in the business community as the Pareto principle, that 20% of your efforts are yielding you 80% of your return. So right now, it's really identifying the activities that produce productivity and staying around those. So specifically, it's going to be how you go to market, what it is that you have from a strength. So I'll give you real quick the AEIOU principles of social media today. And that is A, awareness. You have to make people aware of who you are. You cannot stay under a rock, because those who are under a rock will not make it. The I is, you have to be inspiring. You said it best. We have to laugh more. We have to love more. We have to cry more. Or the E is engagement, but make a powerful question. If I could help you sell more of your what so you could spend more time around your why, would you consider? Learning to take what you do, but giving it back to somebody in an engaging way will cause you to be able to gain traction. The O is opportunity. Have an eyesight of vision. Helen Keller said what? Those who are blind are not the worst people. It's those who have sight but have no vision. We need to have vision to see our opportunities. In the midst of uncertainty, there is plenty of opportunity, and the you is unique. Will you just be the best you? Don't be the best me, because you're going to lose. I'm going to lose if I try to be Sharon. I'm going to lose if I try to be Laura. I'm going to lose if I try to be Michael and Clint and VR and Dagmar. But I will always win when I focus in on me.
Love it. Love it. Hallelujah. Absolutely. And very, very wise words there, Derrick. Thank you so much for sharing. And I was going to ask you, one of the things that we were talking about, a lot of people that, are sadly, sadly sad or depressed or not feeling well, I'm saying, in their mind, that if you help someone when you're feeling really low, if your objective is to go out and help other people, you just can't feel bad, because obviously you're focusing on someone else. You're focusing on helping someone else, become better, to overcome their challenges. It's just a very fulfilling place to be. And I think especially with a lot of the veterans that I've seen, the things that I've read about how many of them obviously struggle with PTSD, especially with with the great work that they've done. And for me, that's something that obviously is something that we need to hindsight, a lot of the things, and that's the great work that you do, and the great work that you do to help people to come on top and to see the other side. So you've already shared with us some great skills on thriving and how that is, important. What are you advising now more of? What are you doing differently, if anything, in comparison to, I don't know, a couple of months ago?
Well, definitely the key words for me are to connect and to collaborate. I think that a lot of us talk about collaboration, but we really don't know how to effectively collaborate. And when we collaborate, we streamline. And when we streamline, we eliminate duplication. And when we eliminate duplication, we increase our resources. And so we really need to understand and learn how to collaborate. And I think businesses that really grab that and look at how can I connect with other businesses, who's doing something similar to what I'm doing that enhances what I'm doing, because that not only enhances my business, what I can offer to my client, but it also expands my audience, because that person has their own audience, their own group of clients. And now I have my group of clients. So when we come together, we've just doubled our numbers, and we haven't really done anything that cost us anything. What it cost us was some trust. What it cost us was some integrity in how we do business. What it cost us is some reciprocation. And that's what networking is all about. And I think people forget that. Networking is not about getting, it's about giving. And as much as you want to get, you got to be willing to give. And so if you want to be an effective networker, you really want to strengthen your business position, you've got to dive into what it means to collaborate and connect with other businesses and really learn how can we strengthen. We teach this program called the Partnership Advantage, and we talk to businesses about doing collaborative marketing. That's going to be huge coming out of COVID. Mm-hmm. To be able to come together, 3 or 4 different businesses that have a common client group. You may not have the same clients, but your clients may be high end, or all your clients are very thrifty, or all your clients are in a certain neighborhood. And you come together and you put together a marketing piece, and each and every one of you offer some kind of discount or referral for the other client to use the other people that's on that marketing piece as resources. Now you've done that marketing piece. You were going to do 1,000 anyway, or you were going to do this on Facebook anyway, but now you're all doing it together. So there's one price instead of 5 prices or 4 prices. And you've now expanded your audience without doing any additional search. You've done it by collaborating with other business owners who already had a following, who already had an audience. So I encourage not just our veteran business owners, because we're really good with camaraderie and getting together, but we've got to do it better. We got to get outside of our little circles. We got to collaborate with other people. That strength is going to be in numbers. It's not going to be you standing alone, you being a woman or a man on an island. It's going to be you finding a community of connected business owners that want to work together to be successful. And you're going to find that it builds your capacity. So now not only can you do business with your regular clients, but now you can start looking at corporate opportunities and government opportunities, because you're not just a one-man show. Now you're 3 or 4 people who are able to bring together all of your employees to do a more effective accommodation to your clients. So for me, collaboration, connect, and I'm going to end it with celebrate. Celebrate the fact that people are getting together. Celebrate the fact that you're not just going to survive this, but you are seriously going to thrive. And you guys are going to come out of this together. You're going to come out of it stronger. And you're going to come out of it more passionate about what you're doing, finding that passion, finding your purpose. You got to know what it is. Nobody can tell you. You have to know, but when you do, you can really start to find those people that match up with you. So again, connect, collaborate, and celebrate.
Absolutely. And as Bernardo mentioned earlier, it's important to get the right minds together, positive people who are focused on results and getting through this and really thriving. So that's important as well. Bernardo?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you, Via. I love your energy and kind of the concise message. It is about that. And I think, right now, this is this is when we'll see, this is the time when we will see who's going to make it or not. As you said, instead of like Derrick was saying, if you stay underneath a stone, you're just going to, no one will find you, no one will see you. And I also believe that, this is one of those moments and situation in life and in the future when you look back, and I've been focusing on that, on trying to help people focus on taking advantage of this time. You don't want to be out of this when you can actually get out, and hopefully you do get out, and then you regret not having written the book or not having actually, studied more, read more, practice a new hobby, build better relationships, So I know it's difficult, and I hear people saying, hey, you know what, you don't know what it is because you live in a 2-bedroom apartment and we lived in a small space. Hey, I get it. It still does. You're still allowed to go out, have a walk. You still can do like Derrick. He's in the car, so go and do whatever it is. But the thing is, at the end of the day, if you can, you will. If you don't want to, you won't. And honesty starts with yourself. I think the challenge that a lot of people have is that they keep lying to themselves, and then yet they expect everyone else to be honest with them, So be honest with yourself. If you're not doing something, it's because you're full of crap. as they say in English, because you're just trying to find excuses and excusitis, which I read first in a great book from Dr. Schwartz, Thinking Big, basically talks about excusitis, which is a terrible disease, you know, and people just give you excuses left, right, and center, and they expect you to believe it. And what I believe an excuse to be, an excuse is you announcing how stupid and incompetent you are to be able to do a task. That's what an excuse is. So stop finding the excuses, start finding the solution, be part of the solution. I think that's what we summarized here. So Laura, I have to jump onto another 1 hour webinar in a minute. So shall we wrap it up?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm big on collaborated efforts. We can accomplish so much more together than apart. And, you know, it's so important to align yourself with the right people and to utilize this time as best as possible. It's been great sharing with you all. It's been extremely valuable. I'm sure we all learned from each other as well. So, you know, the more you learn, the more you realize how little you know. And so learning needs to be an ongoing thing. Things are rapidly changing constantly. And so we have to find it within ourselves to find that inner strength and utilize all that we've shared. I think this has been a very balanced panel discussion, both the first and second segment, because we've learned so much and we've tapped into so many different areas that are crucial to our survival.
And really had a very Caribbean influence, I've got to say, okay, which is great.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, I would bring some sunshine and the tropics, you know, to keep the mind light.
What would we expect from you, Laura? Now, ladies and gentlemen, señores y caballeros, what I would like you to do is just give us a pearls of wisdom. You know, this is no pressure, but just leave us something. And please, let's try and stick it within a minute or a couple of minutes. I don't want to mute you, okay? Because you've been behaving very well. So please, 1 or 2 minutes, leave us a golden nugget. Dagmar, so let's start with you. Some recommendations. What could people do? Whatever advice you want to leave us with.
Communicate. For the most part, communication is right now so very, very, very important. And collaborate. I've been amazed through my conversations in the past weeks, the brainstorming that has happened, and it's been very motivating for all different kinds of people. And all of a sudden they are going more to themselves. And when they get together with others and speak with others, all of these amazing things are happening. So staying connected, absolutely staying connected, as VR spoke about. And you can do that through, you know, many of us, and collaborating, so many of the things that were spoken here. Those are...
Thank you so much for sharing. Lovely to have met you here and hope to meet you in Dallas. Clint, anything you want to leave us with?
Just laugh as much as you can. There's plenty to be sad about. There's plenty to be upset about, but laugh, find the fun moments, find the time for yourself. You know, follow the 80-10-10, or the in Texas, it means 80% meat and then 10% beer and then 10% something else. But follow the great advice too. But find times to laugh, find times to smile, because what else are you gonna do?
Absolutely, Clint. Thank you so much. And listen, I think you've got a great accent, man. You take that to England, you'll do really well. Michael,
I appreciate it.
Maybe that's the solution, Clint. Just start marketing to the English. You see, us English, we come over here and all of a sudden, hey, people listen to us. We talk crap and people do, oh, I love your accent. Well, brilliant. Let's carry on. Michael, what something you want to leave us with?
That's right. I'm with Clint on the T-bone steak, but I'll just say now's the time. Write the book, plant the seed. What you do today will reap 100-fold return, because it's going to be a lot of white space in the next 90 to 180 days. And so jump on our free webinar. It's called writebook60days.com. I'll put it in the chat comments. Got a group of mentors, coaches, teachers that are going to help you. It's a free event for 8 weeks long. We're just going to pour into you and help get your book out. It's like having a baby. It's a team effort here. And the other one is globalelitespeakersbureau.com. It's in pre-launch. You can go submit your profile now, and we're going to be doing events all over the world, not just on physical stages, but virtual stages like this, featuring some of the world's greatest speakers like Bernardo and Laura, and we would like to have you join us as well. So, And go visit Jamaica. I agree. I loved it. It was my last stop before I was quarantined.
Laura's just never invited me, Michael, but that's another subject.
I understand.
I hear us now, so I'm just telling you, but we'll talk about it later.
I'm on to the English humor because I'm taking him on.
Dagmar, I do remember that we have met. Your name was very familiar. I do know we met. So, Sharon.
I just want to leave with gratitude, because, you know, we laugh and all of that, but we are so lucky to be living in this time. And if we really just turn it around and think, oh my God, we're going to live through some history. We're going to watch the world pivot and change, and we're going to be part of that change. Please, whatever you do, get outside, get your hour of power, move your body, keep yourself in a state of elevated consciousness. And I hope to see you on one of my online classes and programs soon. I left you a link.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And all of you, you're more than welcome to go back to the Best Year Expo community, and please leave whatever resources you have. We've got a hashtag which is called Food Bank for the Soul. So we're always looking for content and ideas for anyone that's interested in watching us. Sharon, that was very well behaved. You actually behaved really well there with the mic in the last minute, two minutes. VR, what do you want to leave us with? Hold on, there you go. Oh.
I'm going to take a different spin on this, and I'm just going to remind us all and those that are listening that now is the time for leaders to step up and to truly lead. And we need people that are going to bring us together, that are going to teach us how to work together, how to communicate better, as Dagmar was saying, and to really share information. No one group is going to be able to do it all, but collectively, we're really going to be able to make a difference. And so those who are leaders lead.
Yeah, love it. Thank you so much. And Derrick, what do you want to leave us with?
Well, let me leave you with PL is your PL. So your profit and loss is based on your positioning and leveraging. So get in position, leverage what you have, and let's continue to drive. You hear that, Bernardo? Drive to the promised land. So have a great day. Thank you so much for letting me.
Love it, Derrick. And I've got to say, you are already on the highway. You're full steam to the promised land, my friend, because you have it. You've got it. Okay, well done. Thank you.
Yeah. And certainly thank you all. Just let's utilize this time as best as we can. Let's love each other, care for each other and ourselves, and truly position for success. We'll get through this, and we'll get through it together. You're not alone. We're all in this together, and it's been great sharing with you. Thank you, Bernardo, for this platform with the Best You, and it's certainly an honor to represent them, because I know what we're thriving to do and what we will do ultimately. So keep safe, each and every one of you.
Thank you so much.
Social distancing, and take care of your families and those you love.
Thank you so much. And that's a perfect catch. And we didn't even plan this, but I was just going to end with, at the end of the day, it's all about love. You know, whatever happens in life, it's all about love. We're all seeking love. We're all looking for love. We all want to be loved. And that's what it's all about. And that's what we need to be sharing more of. A kind word, a nice gesture, helping someone is love. There's so many ways of showing love, and that's what it's all about. Ultimately, health and love. The rest is all crap. Thank you so much. And on that bombshell, on that little word of wisdom, I'll leave you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day and keep safe.
Is there an Instagram handle for Best You?
The Best You, yes. The Best You, then underscore.
Best You underscore. Thank you.
Yeah, and then if you go to the Best You Expo community there, you can engage with me. Laura obviously has my contact details. Any of you want to reach out to me, please do. But please leave whatever resources you want in there and your contact details. Thank you so much. Lots of love. Stay safe.
Okay, take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, see you.